Welcome to Adam Does Movies Live. It's a Tuesday night, 10 o'clock. I gave you guys ample time to watch that new episode of The Acolyte, or as I lovingly call it, The Crapolite. We got a good one for you tonight. Last week I talked Star Wars with a couple friends of the channel. We went over chronologically all the Star Wars movies as they came out, the TV shows leading up to today. And then we kind of went over the pros and cons of all of them and where we thought the prequels fit into things, the sequels, the sidequels, everything. I'm very Star Wars to me is inconsequential in my life. I enjoy some of it. I hate some of it. I despise some of it. And that's it. I don't make my life on it. I don't lose sleep over it. But I have another guy coming on here in a second, and I know he's much more stingent about Star Wars. He has all the collectibles. He loves Star Wars. He breathes it. Basically, it's Sean Chandler talks about Star Wars at the end of the days. Let's bring him on. Here he is. He's ready to go. And boom. Sean, how are you, sir?
Sorry. Just hugging my good friend, Darth Vader.
There it is.
From my rare collectible Revenge of the Jedi poster. I'm sure
yes.
this is an authentic one from 1982 before they changed the title. But yes, you're correct.
Over that. Sean, I went over that poster. I did a thing for a very small amount of time on my channel where I did movie poster breakdowns because I have a background in graphic design. So I went over that poster, actually. It's cool that you have it.
Yeah, this is what I stare at while I'm shooting videos. And if you've seen me on the TikTok or Instagram, you also know I frequently cry about Star Wars. So I get very emotional about these things.
As middle-aged men, I think that's fair. That's kind of par for the course for us to cry about nostalgia from the 70s and 80s and today. That's what we do. Sean, I assume you're
on from my childhood. I'm just stuck at age 9, and I just don't know why they're doing this to me.
Why do you hate me, Disney? We got Gladiator 2 coming out. We got a new Alien Romulus coming out. A Toy Story 56. Woody's going to end up taking Buzz out back and shooting him at some point because he's going to die of old age. You know what's going to happen. Buzz is going to be like, I'm getting too old for this shit, Woody.
These ideas keep getting better and better. The worst part is that if we pitched these ideas, they'd be like, that's good. That's good stuff. You're inspired, Adam.
I like it. I like it a lot. He can maybe use his trademark, like reach for the stars or reach for the sky. And yeah, it'd be great. So Star Wars, did you watch the new episode? We're not going to spoil anything.
I did.
You're caught up? You caught up?
I am. The reason we were even late starting was that I'm uploading my little reaction to this amazing episode that revealed so much, answered so many questions.
Star Wars Acolyte episode 6, I think.
The tease.
Yeah. Again, not going to get into anything, but I feel like everybody kind of saw where the show was going from the first episode, and it's pretty much doing exactly what people guessed, beat for beat. So either the writing's incredibly hacky and predictable, or this is all intentional, and there's going to be like a reveal no one sees coming. Yeah. I'm guessing it's going to be the former over the latter, mainly because it's just been pretty bad all around. But what are your thoughts, Sean, just overall of the Acolyte? Are you loving it so far? I assume.
No. I don't know.
Are you watching it with your family? Are you watching it alone?
Yeah. That's the whole family's watching it. But it's only my wife's watching it, but she's watching it because I'm watching it. And then the kids randomly show up. And so they've seen every other episode. So where'd all the other Jedi go? Because they didn't watch last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have loved it. They were slaughtered. It's a family show. Everyone died.
Yeah.
But it's so frustrating because I've been saying for years now, basically since Solo came out, let's go somewhere else. Let's go to a different timeline. I don't need to look at the same characters in the same window of time from Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, from Attack of the Clones to A New Hope, because then you get Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Solo. I mean, just so many stories, even Rogue One, in the same window of time. So it's let's go somewhere else, different part of the universe, tell different types of stories in here. And that's kind of what Mandalorian did. it's in the same time period of sorts right after the war, but we're doing bounty hunter stuff. It's not. It's a little bit of a different flavor.
It was for season
it
1.
was,
and
yes.
2, it started to veer off. They're like, Luke Skywalker. We're gonna bring in Ahsoka, and then it's suddenly you're back, and now we're into the prequel sequel stuff again.
Yes. So they announced we're gonna do a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
High Republic. It is set 100 years before the prequels. We're gonna see the Jedi when things were going well, and then it's a murder mystery. And then they're like, it's going to be heavily influenced by martial arts films. My background is being a super nerdy kid obsessed with direct-to-video martial arts films back in the 90s and renting all of the worst ones and then discovering Jackie Chan and discovering the good ones.
Oh, yeah.
And so then they said they're going to do this in Star Wars, new time period, murder mystery, martial arts. Oh, man, what could go wrong? And then you watch it, and it...
And then they killed Trinity within 5 minutes, right. And you're like, oh shit!
This is the stuff right here that is just like the betrayal for why us middle-aged men in our early 40s are just like, what is wrong with this show? You marketed it as having Trinity from the Matrix as a Jedi in a show with martial arts where you're bragging about your martial arts, and the first thing you do on your show is kill Trinity. Who is this for? What are you doing? Why would you do this sort of these bizarre bait and switch, put it in the trailer, and then like, just kidding?
Well, and that's the most perplexing part, because you and I have kids around the same age. And like you said, your kids aren't watching. They like maybe periodically pop in when they're grabbing a cookie in between rounds of Fortnite. My kids aren't watching.
Right. That's incredibly accurate.
It's accurate. Yeah. My kids are doing the same. I was actually watching, what's the show? Have you ever heard of Below Deck? It's some stupid reality TV show where they're on a boat cleaning up, whatever. My wife's into it. She got me hooked. So we're watching Below Deck. And I look over at the clock and I'm like, ugh, I gotta, we have to stop. I have to watch Star Wars Acolyte episode 6 and take notes and then do a stream on it with Sean. And my wife's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, this is my life now. This is what people want from me.
Right.
And so she gets up. I'm like, and she starts to leave. I'm like, well, wait, you can watch too. And the door just shuts and she's gone. It's like, okay, all right. I'm watching this alone in the dark on my computer writing notes. And that's Star Wars.
Just the reaction from people up to the show it's so all over the place. It's so weird. Yeah. And there's people like, Star Wars is for kids. And this show is made for the new generation. It's not made for your generation of grown-ups. It's made for the current generation of kids. It's like, yeah, what kid is watching this show? Like, who's the 10-year-old that this is getting them excited? It was an episode of them sitting there and like a grown man goes out naked swimming.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, you gonna kill me or you want to go get dinner?
and then meanwhile, you have like Rocket Raccoon's slow cousin, who's like the worst design of a character ever. Like, something's not right here, and he's running around. Meanwhile, the Jedi have no idea. It's such a disaster.
You're watching like Soul's like, everybody got slaughtered, and you're thinking he's gonna say Sith, and then the message transfers, and that's the word that gets cut out to explain something. He just doesn't say it.
I know.
He doesn't say it. And then they call him back. Like, communication's good. And this is the big question around the show. How does this fit in the canon? How are we going to explain that in Phantom Menace, we haven't seen a Sith in 1,000 years? How are they going to explain this? Soul just didn't return the call. He forgot to mention, those bad guys we haven't seen in 1,000 years?
None of us sensed when we were on the planet because we were the worst Jedi ever. I don't know. All of it.
Yeah, this have no abilities, nothing at all. Yeah, I mean, we just found one. You got don't get 9 of us. Get like 50 plus a bunch of people with blasters. You got to circle this guy because he just slaughters us. He's way better than us. Doesn't say this.
I said that on, I think it was the 3rd episode, maybe the 2nd. They all blur together at this point, but whatever one May was basically trapped on the planet. She was going back to budget Ezra Miller to steal some more goodies or whatever from him. He's making, potions and stuff. And the Jedi knew she was there. And so I thought, okay, logically, you set up a perimeter. You bring like the whole force of the Jedi down on this one evil person who has killed 2 Jedi so far. But no, they're like, I think the five incompetent people we have right now are good. We'll figure it out. It's just frustrating.
And last week, there's some cool lightsaber stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But then also incredibly stupid logic. Like, this guy's just tearing people down. So he's like, Yord, how about you take that other Force user you're with and just walk away for a little while? And then let's split up and one person will fight her over there. And so that now we're doing 1-on-1 against the guy that just killed 3 people at once. As opposed to like, all right, how about 3 of us tackle that guy? Who cares about May? Just let her go. 3 of us go after this guy. And Osha, you just keep shooting at him. Just you stand away and you just keep blasting anytime you have a moment, but something will hit.
Right.
Like you want
with her like orca ray gun thing. It's like,
yeah, right. Maybe 2 people stand on the side and force push together, so he's like stuck, and then have her shoot the ray gun from front, and then somebody throw their lightsaber or something. I don't know. Like, there's got to be something. And
you basically described the scene from Avengers: Infinity War where they like hook Thanos down, right. Spider-Man swings in.
Right, so we watch a good movie and they know how to defeat bad guys, but the Jedi in their prime before their fall are morons that are like, just run through the forest, take her back to the ship. Why? I don't know. We brought her here knowing it's a dangerous mission, that there's someone that's able to kill Jedi. As soon as we encounter the guy able to kill Jedi, all of a sudden we're like surprised, like, get out of here, Osha, you might die.
Yeah. There's so many just odd things because they introduced the Wookiee Jedi as well. Yeah. I assumed he was a character they pulled out of their ass from like an old Disney cartoon or something, Star Wars related. I don't know, but every time they do this, it seems like it's a fan service for, again, 30, 40, 50-year-old dudes. And then they just unceremoniously kill them right away. And I just think, okay, well, why then? Why even have it at all? I don't get this. But that leads to the conversation of today, which is there a way back from the brink?
Oh, yeah.
Because right now it seems, and the argument I hear once in a while is, hey, this isn't for you, it's for kids. Well, I have kids, you have kids, they don't give a shit about Star Wars. It's anecdotal, of course, but I just don't, it doesn't seem like it's a thing that really kids are interested in. And Disney keeps going back to the well of the old stuff because they know the parents need to get on board because they pay the bills. What do you think? What do we do here?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Mandalorian season 1 was one of these things that brought people together.
Yes.
That was the first show that both my son and I were excited about before it came out. And it was like a weekly tradition that we were waking up at like 6 a.m. before school, watching episodes, and then they would go to school. And then season 2, same sort of deal. It was like a family tradition. That show was exciting. My 5-year-old that doesn't know the name Grogu has like 5 Baby Yoda stuffies in her room. She has the Baby Yoda pajamas.
Right.
So it's even, toyetic. It is merchandisable. It did a bunch of things right. And then, of course, they learned all the wrong messages from that. And I don't think for a second Jon Favreau wanted Grogu to be tagging along in season 3 of Mandalorian. But, the merchandising or the head honchos were like, Grogu sells too many toys.
Yeah.
You can't actually play out the plot line. You can't actually allow this thing to end. So let's sabotage the whole season and throw Grogu in there. They literally throw Grogu in there sometimes. They literally.
Do you think So 2 things. One, I fully agree with you. It's funny you say that because my entire family, the 4 of us, every weekend I made a big breakfast and we watched the Mandalorian episode. Yeah. It felt like a throwback to like a 90s show where it was episodic. There was like a monster of the week, but then there was an overarching plot. It was great. Season 2 was the same, but then as you're saying, something weird happened behind the scenes where it felt like Favreau or whoever finished up this storyline. Grogu made it to Master Luke. That's the end of it. but that was never going to be the end of it because there was money. And so they it almost felt like they rushed out those Mando episodes that they wedged into the Book of Boba Fett unceremoniously. Like there's not even lead into them. I think it's episode 5. It just straight up starts with the Mandalorian episode. There's nothing leading into it at all. And I remember watching
2 episodes of a different show.
It's a completely different show. Yeah, just
undoes the ending of the other show.
Yeah, it's terrible. I've never in my life seen anything so stupid from just across the board. And so Connor and I were watching that, but Lindsay and Olivia didn't care.
There was the tease at the end of Mando season 2 where they said Book of Boba Fett, and at the time I was like, oh, cool.
Sure.
And I wondered, like, my thought at the time was, oh, we're gonna have these different Mandalorian shows that are all the Mandalorian.
Yeah, right.
Book 1 was Mando and Grogu, about those 16 chapters getting him to Luke, and then the next book is the Book of Boba Fett, and then the next book after that is the Battle for Mandalore.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's a really interesting way to do seasons of a television show where you can end a storyline and kind of make it an anthology, and it is a shared universe, and they come back.
Right.
That's not really how it played out.
No. I was waiting for the Book of Chow Yun Fat. We didn't get that either. Just all of it was all ruined.
Now you're speaking my language back to that Hong Kong cinema I discovered
the double
in
guns.
1997.
He's just straight up shooting guys. So my wife and daughter did not watch Book of Boba Fett because it sucked. And I remember just getting through it with Connor, and out of nowhere that Mando episode hit, and I was so defeated because I had to go to them and be like, I need you to watch Book of Boba Fett with us this week. And Lindsay's like, what are you talking about? I'm not watching that. I go, yeah, it's a Mandalorian episode. I know, it's weird. It's weird, but you got to go with it. Episode 2, or I'm sorry, season 2 ended kind of, it could have ended there. Mandalorian season 2 could have just straight up ended there. There was still, of course, some things they could have led into, but that story was pretty much done. And then it was
a very clear story and character arc of this person that lives by a code that his whole existence is based around his love for this code. And then he finds a child that reminds him of himself and why he embraced this code, and he will sacrifice everything that he values the most for this child. That's compelling. It's a very simple arc. He's not a complex guy at all, but it's compelling to see him get to a point where he will take his helmet off for this child.
Of course, yeah.
And then he also has to let the child go. That's actually, it's simple, but it's good, compelling storytelling because you care about each of them, their relationship, and what it means.
You know what exactly?
Show, they undid it.
You know what it's like? Sean? Did you watch the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy?
Yeah.
This would be like if Kung Fu Panda 4 dedicated most of its movie to Toothless having to team back up and leave his family behind and go back with Hiccup and go on adventures again. That's basically what they did with The Mandalorian. It's insulting because Grogu found his home where he belonged, much like Mandalorian found the Mandalorian tribe. I always forget the Mandalorian's real name. Do you remember it?
Din Djarin.
Din Djarin. Yeah, sure.
Whatever I said was almost certainly wrong, but it's something like that. I'm always like Din Djarin.
Dijon Mustard, whatever his name is.
Mando.
Yeah, Mando. The Mando found the Mandalorian tribe. He's with them, the cult, whatever.
And I think there's you could have used Grogu in the plot that they had for season 3 in a cool way, because you think one of the classic powerful tropes of epic storytelling, the cavalry shows up. All hope is lost and the cavalry shows up. So you set up this season where the whole time Grogu's off with Luke training to be a Jedi. He's training, actually learning to do stuff. And then in our main plot line, Mando goes to reclaim Mandalore, Bo-Katan. Oh, crap. There's Force clones. There's a bunch of Gideons. How on earth are we going to defeat these Force-using clones? And then
Please allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Grogu comes in. Yeah, freaking jumps off the shoulder of Luke Skywalker, and they just start tearing shit up. Yeah, that would have been compelling.
You have Mando fighting one, and he's able to beat one, and he's beaten up, and then 3 walk out, whatever it is, and you play it out, and it's like, all hope is lost. These Force users, you forgot, audience. You forgot Grogu's been training with Luke, and it's about to go down. And you have a couple episodes in there, like, showing the training a little bit.
Yeah.
The stuff that was in Book of Boba Fett, do the good version of that. Ahsoka shows up. She's hanging out with Luke a little bit. Grogu's training. He's getting powerful. He's learning to communicate. And you get to the finale, and it's continuation of the arc that he's becoming who he was supposed to be. Or he literally had nothing to do the whole season.
Yeah. It could have been something special.
Impact. It was horrible.
Yep. Ugh. Could have been great. But yeah, outside of the Mandalorian.
Season 3 was my favorite of the seasons.
Oh, God.
Almost as good as Book of Boba Fett.
So I hate watched season 3, kind of like I did with later seasons of The Walking Dead and Lost, until there was a point where I just couldn't do that anymore. But and what I'm doing with the Acolyte right now. Out of what they have to work with, here's my personal suggestion. You can take it or leave
sorry,
it.
I kind of rabbit trailed that whole thing.
No.
I didn't really answer your question, but yeah.
You did. I mean, the Mandalorian is great. I love the Mandalorian. I loved The Force Awakens. It was familiar. It was basic. It was back to what we remember, and then that shit to bed, of course. But I think they start over. They got Rey coming out. Are you excited at all for Episode 10? Do you excited for Rey to rebuild the Jedi with all of her vast knowledge of Jedi lore now?
It went great for Luke. Luke couldn't do it. So
girls get it done. Here? Girls get it done.
I mean, that's like, think how crazy it is that it looks like in June of next year, 2 years from now, Dune 3 and a Star Wars movie are probably right now scheduled for the same date.
Sure.
You think a few years ago, if someone said, there's going to be a Dune movie and a Star Wars movie coming out on the same date, and everyone's going to be like, oh, Star Wars. And everyone's going to be like, Dune, sandworm, spice. I can't wait for more of that. Star Wars is dramatically less exciting than Dune.
It's wild, isn't it?
And Star Wars is quite literally, if you took Dune and made it mainstream.
Yeah. It's the commercial version of Dune. It's got the merchandise. It's got all the cute animals. It's pop culture. It's pop music, you know? Mm-hmm. It's Olivia Rodrigo, and I eat it up. You put that in, I'm good. I'm jamming. But
I am not excited for Rey.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
As it turns out, I am. I think less excited for Mando and Grogu because, like, you killed the story. Like, if you had done season 2 ends, you do season 3, and it's the reclaiming of Mandalore, and Grogu's does a cameo, shows up at the end or something, but he's barely in it, and then you announce Mando and Grogu. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, they're teaming back up, the Mandalorian and the Jedi. Oh, but it's not that. It's just like how did you make me so uninterested in this thing that I have deep personal emotional connection to, because my son and I watched it for he's got a Mandalorian helmet. He wants to come in and join us at some point in time in his Mando helmet. That's how it's that big of a connection. I need to text my wife and have him come up to do that. But come on.
He's been waiting the whole time. He's been waiting the whole time.
He's literally sitting by the door waiting for me to yell at him.
He's just in the dark. He's like, okay. Here we go. And the light shines on him and he comes out.
How on earth did you go for literally this? He's waiting. It's so personal. It's special, actually. It's one of those memories that will always be there. It's not his on-ramp for Star Wars, but it's his on-ramp for Star Wars with me and him together.
It's what Disney wanted. It's Star Wars for a new generation instead of going back to the old
well, you have
timers.
to put that in so you can hear. Quit pushing the button.
Oh, he's got it. I hope in a couple years he doesn't have the scar down the eye and he's like smashing it against the side of the wall. He's like, it's time for Mandalorian to die.
The difference is I hope that happens. I want him to have a cool scar.
Yes.
Cool
Everybody
scar on
wants
my
the
face.
eye scar. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you personality.
But if I give it to him, CPS.
That's
every dad's struggle.
I mean, now you have your villain arc, and he has his hero arc. Yeah. You're basically Vader to his Luke.
You have to put that in your you have to put it in your ear so you can hear.
Did you guys watch all of season 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you watch all of season 3?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Alrighty, buddy. What are you excited for coming up in Star Wars? Anything?
Sorry, we pushed play on the old recording because every time he puts one of these in his ear, he pushes the button. So I was listening to what you were saying 20 minutes ago. What did you just ask?
Oh, I just asked if he's excited for anything coming up in Star Wars, or if he's watched anything recently.
I watched the new Acolyte episode earlier today.
Okay. Did you like it?
It was really confusing.
Was it super exciting? Did you like the part where they ate dinner? Or what about the part where she reset the settings on the pip droid? Like where she grabbed it, was like, let's do factory reset. Was that the thrilling part? What part was thrilling for you?
That little guy like stepped on our foot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was awkward.
Future Star Wars stuff that hasn't come out yet. What are you excited for?
I want to see Mando and Grogu. Like, it's something I'm pretty excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Not the most excited for, but I...
What are you most excited for?
I don't know.
But it's not Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sonic 3, another Mario movie.
FNAF 2.
Oh, yeah, there we go. There it is.
Which one?
FNAF 2. That's his answer. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Gotcha. My son loved the game. He wasn't so big on the movie, but
how old is he?
He's 12. He's 12, yeah.
Interesting.
How old are you?
12.
12. Same age? Oh, wow. Perfect.
So you guys are basically best friends is what I would describe.
You guys are basically the new generation of movie critics, and you already have something to debate over, so I might have to set up a live stream and just have you guys tear each other down. First off, how dare you?
These ideas keep getting better and better. Are you excited about a new Rey movie?
No.
What? Episode 10, Rey leads the Jedi or something?
She's back, baby. She was never really gone. Did you guys watch Despicable Me 4, right? Did you like that?
Yeah. Oh, he didn't make it. We kicked him out. We booted him last minute.
Bummer.
Our neighbor across the street, their air conditioner went out, so their daughter came over, and so it was like, hey, Liam, can you just stay home and play Fortnite? He was like,
oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, I don't know if I can do that. Was it good, though, Sean? I didn't see a review. Was it good?
No, it's not good.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's funny. There's plenty of jokes that land.
Is it worse than 3?
Yeah, I would say so, but I kind of like the 80s.
Great. Okay.
No, it wasn't. But
yeah,
like I liked at least the 80s vibe and the villain.
Yeah.
And so then this one, it's the villain's like Gru's rival in high school. That's a cockroach.
Okay.
What?
He has a cockroach body, but he's not barely in the movie. Like the movie, it's like it bookends with like the rivalry and then the big showdown at the end. In the middle, it's just 1,000 subplots.
Just shenanigans. Like
Gru is learning tennis. Gru is being blackmailed. Gru doesn't get along with his kids. The girls are taking karate. The mom has a job at a hairdresser. You're like, what are we doing?
They're like, all right, the generation's all about YouTube shorts and TikTok videos. So let's make every scene 60 seconds long, and we're done.
That's about right. All right, thank you, sir.
I appreciate you coming in. What's your son's name, Sean?
What is your name?
Liam.
Leo?
Liam.
Oh, Liam. Thanks,
we named
Liam.
him after Liam Neeson.
Oh, that's right. I did know that, actually.
Yes.
I'm terrible with names, though. I actually thought your name was Michael before you came on, so I was like, oh, what's this guy's name again? Michael Chandler.
That is correct. Sean Michael Chandler, and he's Liam Michael Chandler, so there's a reason that you thought that.
Is that real?
Mm-hmm. It's all, and it's across the whole family. My brother, him and his two boys are Michael Chandler, and then my brother-in-law from my wife's family, his middle name's
Really?
Michael.
This is gonna blow your mind, but my middle name's Michael too. It's Adam Michael Olinger, so it's.
Seems like
that's not true. That's not true. My middle name's Ross.
Oh.
It would have been exciting. Ross Chandler though. Ross and Chandler.
Correct. Yes.
Hey!
Exactly. It keeps tying it together. And I mentioned the neighbor across the street. His first name is Chandler. So
There
the
it
whole
is.
universe is starting to kind of combine.
It's
together
all
in
it's
this
all
Michael
somehow
Chandler universe.
It's in the Friends cinematic universe. Is
Yes.
really what it is.
So, don't know how that all ties together. Back to
Speaking of universe,
something.
Star
of
Wars.
universe, Star Wars. Yeah.
Okay, so the Rey movie's coming out. I don't care at all either. And it's sad because I actually like Daisy Ridley. I think she's adorable, and I think she's perfectly capable of handling, that type of material. It's just the material is kind of shit. So I don't know. I don't really have any interest in this 10th one. My hope is that Disney just starts over. That's really what I want them to do, is just start from scratch.
I really don't know what you can do because, I mean, retell the story of the. It's just a little anecdote. We've got the Acolyte running right now, and a week and a half ago, a couple weeks back, I got invited to Star Wars prequel marathon.
Oh,
that they're doing at the Alamo Drafthouse.
Yeah, you like those crappy movies, right? You like those prequels?
Saturday was the prequels. Sunday was the original. They said I could I can get 2 tickets to either one. And so I asked my son, which do you want to go see? He wants to go see the prequels because they have clone troopers who have helmets. I don't think he understands there's also stormtroopers with helmets in the original trilogy, but he picked the prequels, so I went where he wanted us to go.
Okay.
I don't, not as bothered by the prequels as much as you are, but yeah, I mean, anything that you would mention is like, what about this crap? What about this crap? I'd go, yep, I agree. But maybe I get a little bit more out of them. But
sure,
I was excited to go to that because my son was excited about Star Wars.
Yeah, of course.
And then beyond that, I was just kind of excited to see those movies on the big screen again and just kind of reevaluate them a little bit. And there's a zillion flaws. Like you're just watching it there's so many fart jokes in episode 1.
Oh yeah.
like what? How is this?
He's basically like a somehow dumber version of Roger Rabbit, Jar Jar Binks. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, it's wild.
Right. So there's all these things that you can tear apart and criticize there, but at least that George Lucas was drawing from fiction, the fall of empires and mythology, and he was inspired by the war on terrorism. There's all these things he was actually pulling from, besides just let me just copy what worked before. And watching it, you're watching episode 1, and even just going from a ship to Naboo to the forest, you go to all of these different kingdoms and areas of Naboo that are interesting new settings in the first 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
You watch the Acolyte, they go to a bar with earth tones. And then they go to a spaceship that's metal. And then they go to forest. And then in this episode, they go to island. And Jennifer's like, is this the island that Luke was on in Last Jedi?
It did look like that.
And it says
these
unknown planet.
There's these budget porgs that had long noses that they held on for a long time.
And they were they had their nozzles do this. It was are we implying something? They're a couple. They're married.
But there was a baby one too.
I love you. Where are we going with this?
I know, am I supposed to order this now on Disney Store?
A little thing pops up at the bottom where you can buy it.
Oh my god! I could see that lightsaber comes across the screen. Buy now.
It's on the CW app back in the day. If you watch Smallville, it would literally have a menu that pop up. Here's where you can buy Tom Welling's jacket. That's a real thing that they did.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway.
They should just have a QR code that pops up every once in a while you can scan on your phone and just make everybody's life miserable.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're 6 episodes into the show that costs $25 million per episode.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, seriously, is this a money laundering scheme? Because people always say the reason that these streaming things cost so much money is because the reason that Beverly Hills Cop 4 costs $150 million is because you have to pay Eddie Murphy. There's no one like that in this show. There's no names in the show except maybe Carrie-Anne Moss, who maybe had sway 20 years ago, but she dies. She's like a cameo. And then there's one episode with a bunch of lightsaber fights in one setting. Not an exotic setting even either. It's just like they're fighting
and
in
it's
a boring
dark
forest.
as crap. It was hard to see half of what was going on.
Yeah. And so where's the budget going? Where's the creative environments? Like, where's any of this happening? We've lost all of that. That, like, you watch the prequels, for all their faults, we're seeing new creatures. We're expanding kind of understanding of how things work and all this stuff. And 6 episodes in, it just feels like the prequel era, except a smaller universe, smaller sets, less interesting worlds. And even for the boring sides of like debating trade routes or whatever, taxation of trade routes in the prequels, as boring as some of that was, at least you understood the world of Star Wars a little bit better.
Sure.
I don't even know, like, this is making me more confused about what is the job of a Jedi? What do Jedi do? I don't know.
Anyway. That's the other reason why, and again, I don't know if you really
and
care
once
that
again,
much,
I didn't answer your question. I ranted about something random. I'm gonna
we'll kind of loop it around. I mean, I'm all over the place with the questions to begin with because we were talking about the prequels. But I guess my issue is totally. It doesn't seem like tonally Star Wars really ever understood itself that much. The first movie was kind of like a serial type of pulpy action adventure, like akin to an Indiana Jones in space. It wasn't supposed to be very like deep or profound. It was good versus evil. There wasn't a lot of nuance there, right? The dialogue was kind of ham-fisted. You got guys in cloaks. You got little people passing out in as droids. It's just a complete shit show. But it was fun and corny and unlike anything we've ever seen. Empire comes out. It kind of grounds things a bit, makes things a lot more gritty and serious. It makes Star Wars. I mean, it tricks people into thinking Star Wars is actually this brilliant, profound piece of art. But then Lucas is like, pump the brakes. We're going to bring it back to where we need to be with Return of the Jedi. It dumbs things down again, retreads the same plot. It brings in the Ewoks. It's back to fun, silly nonsense, but there's stakes now because of Empire. So I think that original trilogy is kind of disjointed as well, even though it's celebrated and loved. I love it, of course. But then the prequels come out and they're completely different. They look different. They just have a different tone and feel to them. And now Lucas has decided Star Wars is going to be way more dense. There's going to be way more stuff under the hood. Jedi have all these weird rules they follow. They're almost like monks now, which was also funny that Obi-Wan in the original, he's got this cloak on, right? But it wasn't really a Jedi garb at the time. It was just he's an old dude trying to stay hidden. And then they made that the Jedi ceremonial clothing. Like, oh, okay. So now this
really
is just
locked in on that.
Yeah, we went all in on the Jedi cloak. This is what
he had a really good disguise for being in hiding for 20 years. I'm
literally dressed as a Jedi.
They came up with a really good name for great place to hide Luke Skywalker too. We're going to put you with your uncle,
your relatives.
And
not going to change the name. Yeah. Again,
good,
it's
great plan.
It's such a
Darth
such a
Vader
shit show.
never thought to check.
Very smart. Hiding in plain sight. Did not see that one coming. But yeah, the prequels, they're their own thing. They feel completely disjointed. And so then the Disney trilogy comes out. It picks a lane. It went with the OG style, and it brought back a lot of the fans. I think it did kind of give a lot of goodwill with that first film, regardless of whether or not people like it now. I think a vast majority of people loved that movie when it came out.
Right, absolutely.
I love that movie.
Absolutely.
I still love that movie. I don't ever want to watch it again because I know what comes after that movie. Yeah. But it did everything it needed to do. I thought it made it fun again. It did still have the serious elements to it with the threatening characters, and then it went to shit. And so ever since then, I feel like we've had like sprinklings of great stuff again, where they figured out the tone they wanted to go with Rogue One, with Mandalorian, and then they dropped the ball almost every single time. And so as far as the Rey thing, I can't really care at all. I would just prefer Star Wars at this point. Bury it and start from scratch. Do completely new story, new characters across the board. Probably what Disney should have done to begin with, but that's a risky gamble. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on that?
So, like, are you saying let's go 1,000 years in the past, Old Republic? You're saying let's go across the unit. Like, are you saying that? Or are you saying like let's hit reset and let's do it again? We're almost at 50 years, and let's just literally reset. Which one?
I'm saying there's no Skywalkers, there's no Darth Vader, everything is brand new. It only carries the name Star Wars, and everything else is kind of up in the air. You have lightsabers, you have the Force, you have evil. We're good with that. I say start there. You can have everything else still exist on that side of the universe, or maybe it's 100 years later or 7 billion years later. It doesn't really matter. We don't need to kill anything else. We're just making our own thing now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think like that's what I said earlier. Like, I've wanted them to go to like the Star Wars universe is built on a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Right.
And so it's a playground.
It is.
It could be this playground where you could do all kinds of stories, all kinds of heroes' journeys, and you can play around with the idea the Force is out there, all these aliens. There's so much you can do in so many different directions that you can take it.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be about the fall of the Jedi. It doesn't have to be about people with the last name Skywalker. It doesn't have to be about what happened after the fall of the Empire.
Right.
Like, I'm for that.
Yeah.
And like, of the projects they've kind of mentioned, the only one that at the moment I care about at all is the James Mangold Start of the Jedi movie.
Sure. Yeah.
That he wants to do a biblical epic about 25,000 years in the past, and you go, maybe. That could be cool. Maybe.
I was very on board just because it's James Mangold. I love Logan.
Right.
I love Ford v Ferrari. But then I was less on board when I saw his Indiana Jones movie, because they introduced him to the digital screen technology, and he went all in on that. And so I'm worried it's not going to be that Mangold I like.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Totally agree. When it was before I'd seen his Indiana Jones, more excited, less excited after seeing him work for Lucasfilm. I think at the core of all of this, Kathleen Kennedy needs to go 5 years ago. It was very obvious 5 years ago, something's very wrong here. She's very bad at this job. Kathleen Kennedy was a legendary executive producer. Not even producer, executive producer. It's like a real specific, like, she's a bean counter. She's the person that can get stuff done. She's like the ultimate get it done person for actual visionary director that knows what they want to do with a story. That is not the same thing as being the person in charge of the whole deal. And if you can just look at everything that someone is supposed to do as the head of a studio, as the head of Star Wars, of being able to recruit and keep talent, cast a vision for where things are going, be able to unite the fan base in some sort of direction, build excitement and momentum. On almost every single level, you just look at it and you go, her batting average for successes and winning people over, like mainstream appeal, ratioed to the budget, and also just building positive momentum, like, it's not very good. And like, when you reach a point in time where they announce new Star Wars projects, and most people are like, I don't even think it's going to happen, because she's hired so many people and it's gone absolutely nowhere. And they drop out to a comedic level. And it's also like, it's so unbelievably random. Taika Waititi, why is he still in the running? Like, what are you talking about? What What does this have to do with anything? Are you just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks? There's no vision. There's no strategy. There's nothing that the fans can understand about what she's trying to do. To what you mentioned before about tone, it's all over the place. So, like, you have to, like, get rid of her. I don't know if she has dirt or whatever it is, but yikes!
And to jump off that point, a Taika movie would make sense in Star Wars if it was in line with like Jojo Rabbit's tone, where it had that gritty kind of, you know, very sarcastic, biting humor. That works with Star Wars, but there has to be a vision in place. Is she gonna make a bunch of kind of separate storylines, like Joker's over here, the Batman's over there, never the two shall twine? Or is it going to be just everything's connected, like these schlocky Disney Plus shows they currently are doing? Oh, it all ties back in. Ahsoka meets up with the Mandalorian, meets up with Boba Fett, and Boba Fett's in the old trilogy, and he's back as a clone in the prequel movies. It's a complete shit show.
Yeah.
And so I think walking away from all of it, saying, hey, we had a good run. I mean, a good run as in we made a lot of money. Let's walk away before losing money. Let's maybe pare back on the terrible marketing and messaging we put out here. Every time we get women in power, they decide this is their chance to like really stick it to the guys out there that love this stuff for no reason. This is not one of those channels. Those channels, though, have made a great living off of every time these people open their mouth and they're like, Force is female, dumbasses. You can go watch some other, you know, patriarchy show from the 90s. We're done with you. You're like, what? What did I do? I just wanted to watch a movie. What the hell did I do? It hurts. It kind of hurts. Because then there's another part of me that's like, good for you, ladies. Go get. Oh wait, what? What'd you just say? Why?
It's both that like this weird, like abrasive, like like what are you doing? Yeah. That there's just no. This doesn't help your cause. Just tell great stories. That hire women to do great female writers, female directors, create great female characters, and everyone's on board with it. I was watching a bunch of TED Talks on storytelling leading up to a Pixar ranking I did a couple weeks back.
Right,
and
the fuzzy bear character voiced by Seth MacFarlane. Yeah.
Yes.
Go on.
Of course. The best TED Talk was by Ted himself. But so I started watching one of them, and it was this guy that was like, you know, Star Wars didn't have any strong females for a long time. Like Princess Leia was just this damsel in distress, and I was like, this is the worst read on Star Wars ever. Like literally, they rescue her. She insults the guy rescuing her.
Did she say like took you long enough or something?
Yeah, like what's going on here? She takes control of the escape plan. Yeah. It like immediately takes charge, and everyone loves her for it. Yes, she was the princess that needed to be rescued. She was no way a damsel in distress. Like, I just need someone to like. This is a very active person, as she's shown across all three of these films. They've always had like strong female. Like everyone had no problem with that. Like Padme, like she insists on going with Qui-Gon into Mos Eisley. And he's like, it's dangerous. There's crime. This is a terrible idea. You'll get. She's like, I'm going in there. And then she's the queen of a whole planet. And then the next one, she's a senator for the planet. Yeah. That as people try to kill her, she wins a Coliseum fight where she doesn't die. Yeah. And then she rocks
a mean midriff. She does.
I
love how the saber-toothed tiger's like, rawr! Perfect. Just like that. Yeah.
And then also she gets to do it all. She also gets to be a mom of a strong female as well as a superhero that saves the galaxy. She did it all in under the age of 30.
Yeah.
We've had strong females.
And she would have got away with it too if it wasn't for that meddling Anakin.
Yeah. Broke her heart, and thus she died of a
broken
heart.
You're breaking my heart, Annie. It's literally breaking.
Yeah.
Camera zooms in. It breaks in half.
She's just lost the will to live.
Yeah.
And then we got the great scene where
I've been there.
The Dark Lord of the Sith himself goes, "Where's Padme? Where's Padme? You killed her." No.
But before that, Obi-Wan has basically killed his protege, and he's left him for dead, as Jedi do, to suffer burning alive. Yoda pretty much goes hand to hand with the Emperor. He bails, and they both decide collectively, so, like, we're kind of winning. We're not really losing this. We took out the apprentice, but let's go into hiding for 30 plus years because we have to. It's the only way this is going to make sense.
Yeah. Let's hope that someone emerges in 20 years that has no training that can tear down this empire. And he does.
It syncs up perfectly. Speaking of syncing up perfectly, on that new episode of The Crapolyte, I like that Martian man-hater lady has a purple lightsaber whip. What the and then that technology is just never used again in the future. I wonder what's happening. I don't care. I think it's funny, but I also was like, oh, well, we just forgot about that tech after this one episode. That's funny. It's a lasso.
Yeah.
It's a purple lightsaber lasso.
And they marketed it, the show. They put out some teasers and stuff that had the whip. And so there's some people on Twitter like, look at the whip, look at this crazy cool thing. It's like, okay, I mean, like, you're doing something different. Okay. I mean, I don't know how this makes any sense in light of the technology. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know a lot. I'm not a lightsaber engineer. To my knowledge, they don't exist on Earth. But it seems like we're just like, here's the cool thing. Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
That's kind of where I was at.
Cool like whatever. Okay. But then we're 6 episodes in, and all we've done is, and you marketed it. So once again, it's like, we're 6 episodes in, and we've had like one lightsaber fight. Where's the budget going? Like, what are you doing?
Not to like get back on Acolyte, but did you notice that every scene in this movie is like 1 minute long, and then you jump to another location 1 minute, jump to another location 1 minute? It's very all over the place the last few episodes. More so than anything other show I've watched, where it's just so ADD with its storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, especially it's like they're on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want to leave, you got to swim over there on the tides. I was like, that's like 10 yards. What do you mean?
Yeah, it didn't look very far from the camera shot they did. I mean, I'm sure prospectively there was a lot of waves, but I think I can throw a rock and hit that thing from where I'm standing.
Yeah, Liam did not. And he's like, what are they talking about? Why don't they just walk right over there where it looks like it's like 10 feet? Like, there's nothing to worry about. But they have this scene. It's like, Lee, you want to go over there? She's like, I do want some dinner. And then it cuts over and it's like...
And he's making dinner out of what it looks like his toilet? Like, what is that thing? Wait, the ship's right there? Bob Hope. We can jump that thing in Bob Hope's golf cart. It's just right around the corner. Okay, so to kind of put a bow on it, Sean, are you in agreement? Do you have a different take, or do you think that, we maybe just... see what happens with Rey? I predict nothing great's going to come of that movie, personally. And then we have the Mando and his baby friend Grogu. That's going to be probably a hit. I'm sure that'll be a hit. It'll make a lot of money. But then what?
I mean,
what?
Like you think, how did the hey, let's do a sequel to a Disney Plus show with a movie work for the Marvels?
Yeah,
like it has multiple issues to it. It feels niched. It like my mom, she goes to the movies all the time. My mom went to go see Babylon with her church lady friends. I haven't seen Babylon, but my mom went with her church lady friends. Her friends all walked out 5 minutes in, but my mom said to watch the movie. She goes and sees everything, but she doesn't have Disney Plus.
Why did they go to Babylon? The 3-hour movie by the La La Land director, and that movie's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was one of the... That's a great story. My mom's like, yeah, Sean, took my friends to go see Babylon, got all the old church ladies. All my friends left me 5 minutes in. Like, what? Like, yeah, there's like an elephant peeing on someone.
I was going to say, they made it to the elephant shitting on the guy, and they're like, I think we're good. I thought that movie was great, but definitely not for a wide audience. It's gonna have a market for sure.
Right. So she sees everything. She even sees Babylon, the 3-hour elephant
Tour de force.
That's how I describe it, the elephant movie.
Yes.
But she doesn't have Disney Plus, so she doesn't know like any of this. Like she doesn't like, should I even watch this? Because I haven't seen this Disney Plus show. And they're doing a Star Wars movie with this big budget that's a sequel to a TV show that everyone thinks has lost all of its excitement and momentum.
Right.
Everyone.
Right.
And it has that simple problem of anytime you do an adaptation of a TV show into a movie, it's like, well, why would I pay to see what I could watch for free? And especially in an era where you're like, I know this is going to be on Disney Plus in a month. Why would I buy a ticket?
Yeah. So I think they have a couple shows. I think Ahsoka's going to second season. I don't know if I think Mandalorian's probably done. They're just going to do the movie and be done with it.
Was that Heir to the Empire, or did Heir to the Empire turn into Mando and Grogu?
I don't know. I don't know what that one is. You're more up on this stuff, I think, than I am.
Yeah, so they're basically, it was going to be like Thrawn the movie. So it's basically, they were going to, the movie, they said this before Mando and Grogu, that we're going to do our big team-up movie, that all these plot lines that we've been teasing in Mandalorian seasons 1 and 3, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, we're going to do this movie that's, final throwdown with Thrawn. So Heir to the Empire is the Timothy Zahn trilogy of books from the early 90s that for the extended universe fans, that was the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
And that's why they're deeply offended that the EU was kicked out, and then we got these movies that were lesser. So then this is, we're going to throw everybody a bone. We're doing a kind of a version of Heir to the Empire. We're going to do Thrawn in this movie. But I don't know if they're still doing that one, or if that's Mando and Grogu. Or
I haven't heard anything about that. I know they did cancel a bunch of stuff because the Game of Thrones guys were supposed to have a movie trilogy. Ryan Johnson at one point was supposed to have a movie trilogy. Mm-hmm. I'm sure
Patty
everybody
Jenkins was doing Rogue Squadron.
Right. Yeah. Okay, I know your
Kevin
real
Feige
idea.
He had a movie. It's Taika Waititi still has this movie.
I know your real idea that you're keeping close to the chest because you're probably still pitching it to Disney right now, but it's basically an MCU Disney Star Wars crossover film where Rey and Tony Stark team up and they fight Thanos and Darth Vader, and it's all into the same House of Mouse. Might as well do it at this point, right? Just throw it all out, the kitchen sink.
And Indiana Jones uses the Dial of Destiny. He shows up in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
And he meets Han Solo.
Han Solo. And it's what's that? Panspermia, the idea that aliens are like sent their sperm to Earth, and that's where humans came from. It's one of these theories. Star Wars spermia coming from Han Solo, and because of this Dial of Destiny, midichlorians, all of this is what led to mankind appearing on the Earth all this time later, and Indiana Jones is the purest of the humans because he's from Han Solo's straight bloodline.
It's all making perfect sense. And of course, Wanda, the witch, she was part of that witch coven from episode, I think it's 4 of the Acolyte. She's part of that, where they use the thread or whatever they call the Force. Yeah, it's all happening. It's going to be a Star Wars Marvel crossover event of the century. But no, let's start over with Star Wars. Let's take a beat, Disney. Just keep pumping out merch and maybe build another Star Wars land at Universal Studios. You can make money that way.
Yeah, and then, final thought on it, to answer the question.
Please.
Like, I think you boot Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Whatever, crap out whatever stuff's already in production that's filmed, but get that out of the system. Get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. You bring in someone with a vision, and you basically do what they did in 2013, where you say, hey, we're going to do a bunch of stuff, except this time we've brought in an actual visionary storyteller.
Sure.
But a big part of the problem is if you're the current George Lucas, the last place that you would get a job is at Disney. Like, if you're this kind of this weird guy with these crazy outside the box ideas, and you want to do a movie that's Flash Gordon plus Akira Kurosawa plus westerns, it's a little bit commenting on the Vietnam War or something like that, and you want to do this whole new thing. I get so worked up I punched my microphone. You want to do all of this. The last thing that you're going to do is be like, I want to work for Mickey Mouse, cranking out corporate stuff to raise the stock price,
churn and burn at the factory, and
you just watch as soon as they do something that's good. Mandalorian season 1, by season 3, it's like they've sucked all the life out of it, and it's this dead corpse of itself.
Of course,
if you're the new George Lucas, the last place you would want to work is for Lucasfilm.
Right.
So that's part of the problem. Like, who are you going to get that would want to be a part of this? If you're this visionary, you want to do your own thing, and you can't do that working in these conditions. So I don't even know who you get at this point in time.
Let's workshop a fun what if magical scenario where Disney is actually caring about quality again and not so much about churning out sequels. In a perfect world, and guys, we'll probably wrap this up in like 5 minutes here. So if you have super chats, now put them in and we'll answer them. If Sean wants to stick around, that is. In a perfect world, Sean, Disney's got a new trilogy coming out. They're going to make it brand new, unrelated to anything else Star Wars, its own thing. Who directs it? Do you have a director?
Snyder, Rebel Moon.
You had it ready to go.
Yes, I did.
You're like, finish the preamble, Adam. Just hit me with it. Zack Snyder, of course. Well, he's already directing his own Star Wars, and Netflix has it. And I'm sure you are excited for the director's cut, the unedited 3-hour R-rated extravaganza.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you have a real director in mind? Like an Edgar Wright might be kind of crazy and fun. If you're familiar with Edgar Wright, he's got, Scott Pilgrim and what was it? What was the driver? Baby Driver. He's making a sequel for some reason to that, I guess. Baby Driver 2's coming out. But I think Edgar Wright could be a really interesting, fun director to do a Star Wars trilogy. I'm just throwing that out there as a quick one that comes to me off the top of my head.
I think part of the problem is there's several people that kind of felt like maybe they'd be good, and maybe they've tapped their foot in a little bit of Star Wars. Like Jon Favreau is someone that I was kind of excited about, and we got a little bit of that, and then it went off the rails. And is that...
Well, I'm just telling you. I'm just saying straight up, it's a trilogy. They're seeing it from beginning to end. Who do you think could do it right? And I'm going to add something to it. What kind of tone would you like? Because Star Wars, again, has kind of waffled between all these different styles. Where do you think it fits best? For me, Edgar Wright has that kind of quirky, fun vibe, and I think he could make it look stylish, like visually amazing. Obviously, someone like James Gunn has a very distinct look and feel, and he did Star Wars basically the way we wanted with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think there's plenty of directors out there, and I mean, I guess ironically, Disney's the one that gave James Gunn the ability to make a fantastic trilogy. So they do have it in them. It's possible.
So my pick to direct episode 7 was Brad Bird.
And that would be great. That would be great. Yeah.
Like coming off of his Mission Impossible, it was fun.
Yeah.
But it also had great action.
Yes.
And
that's my favorite one.
And so he was my pick back in the day, and he was in the running, and then he did Tomorrowland.
Didn't do so well. Didn't do so well.
And as a director, I don't mind. Like JJ as a director, I don't think was any of the problem with the sequels. As a director.
JJ's incredibly competent. Yeah, his movie looks beautiful. I thought he nailed the tone of Star Wars. Yeah.
So Brad Bird, JJ, maybe as directors, I think the tough is who's that visionary storyteller and that can bring a new world. So and that's part of the problem is who's done a good job of that.
Oh,
and
man,
we live in a world where so many people are pushed towards IP, and so you can be like, you did a good sequel, you did it, but like I want that imagination of new worlds and excitement, and we're not fostering that talent the way that we used to.
Do you think Spielberg has it in him anymore to do anything to the scale of a Star Wars in the way that he used to make movies? Do you think he has it in him?
I don't
No.
know. I think part of the problem is that the older that he got, he lost his edge.
Yeah.
Like there's that, when you're young, you don't stop and think about the ramifications of things. You're like, oh, it's just be fun. Like he shoots and kills these Nazis and he does this.
Right.
And like Indiana Jones, like, yeah, he used to date an underage girl. And it's like, it's just kind of tossed in there. Like I was young and you knew it was wrong. And we all go along with it. It's all fine. He's kind of a creep. He's a scoundrel.
Well, because it's the tone again. It was campy. It was silly. It was,
And then, as you get older, you start to think through like the weight of what you're doing. Right. And so then he did a re-release of E.T. where he removed the guns from the police officers' hands, so they were like holding up flashlights to shoot, like shine a light on them with the flashlight. Right. And you go, that's such a stupid thing to do. Mm-hmm. But whatever that is, you lose your edge a little bit. And I think about like even stuff that I was way less competent when I was younger, but I had an edge that made me like more creative and fun in a lot of ways. And I wish I could combine that out of the box without those restrictions with my current competencies. That would be a very powerful version of myself.
Right.
But like, I feel like there was an era where Spielberg was really in that zone for a long time. And when was the last like great fun blockbuster from Spielberg?
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's great. And he's adapting a book that I think he dumbed down the book. I don't know how have you read the book?
Oh yeah. I love the book. I do really like the movie too. So
I don't normally read books. So that was my opportunity to snoot my nose at people and be like, you imbeciles.
I listened to the book on tape because I drove long distance for work back in the day. So I listened to the, what was the guy's name? Will Wheaton.
Yeah. Will Wheaton.
Fantastic narration on that book. I like how he said poser instead of poser. Yeah. This is funny.
And then we got the sequel that was, it exists.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I did do the audiobook on that one as well. And holy shit, when they got to Prince Planet, I was out. I'm like, this is so bad. Wow, you made the lead character an unlikable prick that no one should ever root for, and that's not fun to listen to. Yeah. But okay, so Spielberg's out.
All right. Yeah, I'm trying to look at all my stuff up here of trying to think through different franchises of like who's a visionary.
Netflix owns David Fincher, so he'll never be able to leave that freaking hellscape that he's in currently, that purgatory. They took one of my favorite directors, David Fincher, and now he's just making pretty lame thrillers every 5 years, it seems like. It sucks.
I don't know. There's no one left.
There's no one left.
They're all gone. So
because as soon as they do an interesting movie, they do get pulled into some corporate crap, and then they're lost forever.
Yeah. So you like. You do everything everywhere all at once, and you're like, oh, this is weird, crazy movie, martial arts, multiverse, original, exploring a midlife crisis. Now do an IP for a big studio. Right. And it's like, that's the whole thing. Like the movie Pig.
Yeah.
Did you see Pig?
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. So that person does Pig, gets a bunch of acclaim, and then he does A Quiet Place Day One. Okay. And then the Best Picture nominee, Minari, from a couple years back. Did you see that one?
I did not see that one, no.
It's very serious drama about this immigrant Asian family trying to move into the South, and there's dealing with a little bit of racism. So the director of that film, serious Best Picture nominee, small, joyless drama, very heavy. His follow-up, Twisters. Oh. That's a real thing, which I'm excited for Twisters, but like the point is what we're talking, like dumb disaster movie, cool, but like you made Best Picture nominee to disaster, like let's drive a truck into the tornado.
Right. Disaster movie that's like not a sequel or a remake, even though it looks identical as a remake to the first movie.
There was no fire tornadoes in the original. What are you talking about?
And they didn't say what did he say? Sisters in this one? I think he says twins
yeah.
in the original one. Okay, it's basically a different movie. Yeah,
very, very different. But that's the problem.
Yeah.
I actually just a few days ago on June 30th, I pitched a idea to a TEDx event on this very concept of how Hollywood isn't fostering new talent, and we can't discover the next George Lucas. We can't discover. Even what we're pitching right now is who's the great talent that we can put in this. Because that's all we're doing. We just keep taking them and like, wow, you're really creative and artistic. Let's make you a McDonald's manager for this franchise. And you just keep discovering people that are very interesting, and then you cram them into the corporate machine. And so we're not fostering that talent. We're not creating the spaces to take the risks. We're not discovering these interesting people. And then when we are having them work on these projects, like, I wasn't crazy about the Candyman from a couple years ago, but it had artistic and directorial merit. It had a voice to it.
Yeah.
Nia DaCosta does an interesting job with that film. Clear voice, clearly something to say. And then she makes The Marvels.
Right.
And before it comes out, she's like, "Oh, I mean, it's a Kevin Feige film, and it's really his movie." And
I'm already working on something else in tandem.
And you're like, you watch it. Anyone could have directed this film. Yeah. There's no voice. There's nothing distinct. Yeah. And that's all of these things. And so it's just tough to know. So that's my answer. I have no clue. And maybe it's if I sat down and if I looked at it, maybe I could find that person. I'm really
well. There might not. I mean, there might not be an answer because, as you've alluded to, Star Wars it's not really. I mean, it's a property, right? It's not a. They're not films. They're They're merchandise movies. They're merchandise advertisements. At the end of the day,
you're over a toy company.
Like, exactly.
So you're over creating the commercials to sell the toys. So who's the right executive to greenlight the right projects that'll find the next baby Grogu and sell enough toys? And so we're hoping this episode of The Acolyte with our Snuffleupaguses doing their deal that we're going to sell a lot of those.
There's going to be Snuffleupagus backpacks on people, and I guess
it's a two of them, and so the two trunks are what go for your shoulders.
And then you can buy like the baby one that you can hook on to one of the parents if you want. I think that's the funniest thing about all those other channels that are just like so angry, like legitimately mad. I know they're not. It's all for show, but you're mad about something that hasn't really ever been amazing, at least for everyone or for one individual across the board. Like I said, I really like the first two Star Wars movies. The third one's fun and fine. Don't like the prequels. You go back and forth, but it hasn't been this like, oh, Star Wars was always great up until Disney got them and ruined it. No, the Christmas special has always been there, folks. It's been there for a long time. There's been a lot of things.
Groundbreaking movie.
Yes.
And then you had the Christmas special.
Exactly.
And then you had Empire Strikes Back. Great movie. And then you get Return of the Jedi. I've always loved Return of the Jedi. My brother-in-law, he's old enough that he's that OG group that saw first one, second one in the theater, and then by the time that you get to Empire Strikes, Return of the Jedi, he's pushing 20.
Yeah.
And high teenagers. He was like, wait a minute, teddy bears beat the Empire? And so like you talk about Star Wars to him, like he's like, I mean, Star Wars has had big issues since 1983. And then in the 80s, you get these two Ewok movies.
Oh, yeah. Like, of course. And then we went through, Sean, we went through all of this last week. We went through the whole playlist. It's wild.
It's been uneven.
Yeah, of course.
But whatever reason, it touches on something that because it was, when it's good, or even when it's at least in the zone, it's imaginative. Like you feel like you're off to this space that's exciting, and it's classic, tried and true, universal, good versus bad. And I think some of that's where this frustration comes from, of like a bunch of people being like, there's not even imagination in this anymore.
No,
like,
because
it feels lifeless. It's
because again, it's a hero's journey, and they got away from the hero's journey stuff, and they started messing with just a bunch of other ideas, I guess, and concepts to try to make it fresh in I guess in their favor. But it's just not compelling to many people to watch all this messy shit try to come together collectively instead of just watching a dumb farm boy who picks up a magic sword and he saves the day. That's fun. That's different, but it's also familiar. Right. And so I guess us adults are foolishly thinking, maybe there's still some magic left in this hat. Maybe there's still some spice we can collectively get and make something great again. Something that doesn't feel so corporate and artificial. And it's going to come from Disney. It's just not going to happen. But I think end of the day for me, I would be interested in Disney just pumping the brakes and maybe taking a couple years, getting a real team together of people, a director with a vision, and have him lead an actual trilogy from beginning to end instead of shaking things up, then going back.
Right.
I think you could do something pretty cool again in Star Wars, and it might not be like groundbreaking or an amazing story. It's just a hero's journey. It's a simple concept, and it has fun people.
When I think some of that is also realizing Star Wars is a big playground, but that doesn't mean every idea is equally good or interesting. Right. And the Disney era, I think, has just made that plainly clear of like, just because Han Solo is cool doesn't mean a movie is what we want. And at the same time, I feel like Han Solo might have been a good TV show of like him as a smuggler. And it's did you watch Firefly? I
loved Firefly, yeah. And
Firefly
Serenity.
Was kind of, those were basically Han Solo, the TV show. Right. And like, what if that was a Han Solo TV show and you go, and it's episodic, there's an arc, but it's episodic. You go, I think that could have been good.
There's so many. Look at Finn. He was the most interesting character from A Force Awakens because he was a stormtrooper that bailed. He went rogue. What if we had a show, or this could have been done through a flashback in the second movie leading into the third, we could have had an arc of this guy where he's pulled from his home as a kid and he's assimilated into this program where he's basically brainwashed into thinking the Empire's great. They give him a gun. I mean, how compelling would that be to see a young kid get pulled from his parents, handed a blaster at the age of like 8, and told, these are the bad guys, worship us now. And then to watch him kind of grow over time and get away from it all, go on the run, and then rise in the ranks to help destroy them. That's powerful stuff. They'll never do that.
Like the full pitch that we've heard for Duel of the Fates, the other version of Episode 9, it didn't sound fully great to me, but part of it was Finn being like this Spartacus character leading a army of former stormtroopers against the First Order. And you complete the arc, and maybe he's like a little force sensitive in there. There's like so many things in that are like, that's fresh, it's new, it's powerful in a way that we have not seen. Nah. What if he's just like running around yelling? He's like, was he like riding a horse in space or something?
Yeah, a space horse. Now we're going to have him jump on the space equivalent of Seabiscuit and ride on top of a dreadnought. Oh, yeah, we have like 50 dreadnoughts now. Waste not dreadnought. They're everywhere. We have this whole planet of dreadnoughts.
Somehow we built well, first off, somehow Palpatine's back. He started a podcast, and he built like 1,000 Star Destroyers that are as powerful as the Death Star, of course. With no one noticing. Who built it? I don't know. Where did they? I don't know.
Magic force.
He just went like raised his hand and lifted them up, just like it just happened. And then there's a cavalry that just shows up.
You're listening
like, Lando,
to
go grab some people.
Palpatine Podcast, episode 14. Rebels suck. Guest with me today is Darth Maul. Maul, how you doing? How those legs feel?
These ideas are so good. But, anyway, I just I think you can't crank out 2 animated shows, 3 live action shows every year. Like, you just can't crank them out at that pace because like to recruit the right people, to vet the right ideas needs breathing room. You need time, and you need to be able to like do a show, see what works about it, and then learn and grow and evaluate properly. And instead, it was just, I mean, it was the Disney Plus fiasco from Disney.
Churn and burn, baby. Churn and burn.
Just launched it and let's just throw everything out there. And, it was so exciting when they announced it 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Hey, we're going to do all these shows. Oh, wow. Premium shows in premium franchises. Well, you have a lot of borrowed trust right now because this MCU thing's been really hot the last few years. And when they announced that we're going to do some Disney Plus shows, we were like, what just happened with Last Jedi? But hey, Force Awakens was awesome. So hey, Ryan Johnson's the devil. I mean, he ruined my childhood. But
ruined Johnson. Ruined Johnson.
Ruined Johnson. Ruined my childhood.
Yep.
But hey, that's just one thing.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, no, it's this Kathleen Kennedy. But she's not necessarily great at her job.
It was all fun and games until we have a baby Leia outrunning 3 grown adults in the forest in Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's when you knew something was wrong. All right, let's get to the super chats. We have a few to go through while we think about the next week's episode of Acolyte and how we can be enraged about that.
Yeah.
Be upset all over again. Yeah. We have really tough lives over here. D-Man for $1.99. Thank you, D-Man. Disney equals activists, not artists. It's powerful stuff coming from D-Man. Powerful stuff. Yeah, you get the messaging and everything. It's a lot of liberals, a lot of liberal writers, and that's okay. I'm a pretty liberal person, but I don't need to see it so on the nose all the time.
Right. In Star Wars, I don't know that this is like the ways that they do it.
It's can I introduce you to my mothers? And then just looks at the camera this is perfectly fine. It's okay. I don't care. Can we just make a show and
Right. It's that stuff of if you acted normal, if you wrote great characters. All right, so my wife and I are watching this show called Banshee.
Okay.
From 10 years ago. You're familiar with it?
Never heard of it, no.
So it was a Cinemax show that the star of it is Homelander. And basically the basic premise is an ex-con.
The Anthony star of it, you mean?
Yes, the Anthony star of it.
Go on.
Anthony, no H. Anthony star of it, he is an ex-con, just got out of prison, and basically goes to this small town. The new sheriff in town ends up dying before he meets anybody, so he takes the guy's position. Okay. And it's like this throwback action show. It's Cinemax in the 90s sense. So much gratuitous nudity. Anyway. Well,
that's why you said Cinemax. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Cinemax. It literally leans into its Cinemax's reputation.
Yes.
Which I started it because Cody has been telling me to watch this show forever. So finally I was like, I just need something I don't need to cover. I'm not watching it to review it.
Right.
Cody's been telling me about this. Let me check it out. And my wife and I binged the whole first season in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
This is a whole long setup to get where I'm going with all of this.
Yeah, please, yes.
But about Star Wars. But it's real engaging in a throwback sort of way. And my wife, who doesn't like Cinemax, she was sort of nudity excessiveness, still totally into this show. All this to say, one of the main cast members is trans.
Okay.
And so this was from 10 years ago. So this was cutting edge, someone that doesn't fit into the gender binary.
Yeah.
And it's very on the nose, sort of flamboyant.
Sure.
And that's not what the character is all about, though. The character is trans, flamboyant. And so my wife goes right here. This is why are all these shows today? This is from 10 years ago. This is just a great character. I love it when this character's on screen because they're so fun with everyone else. And they just have this person, this is it right here. It's not it's pausing to stare at the camera and
get our
don't
point?
discriminate. It never does any of that.
That's how we've been rewatching the X-Files with the kids for the first time. Yeah, it's
I've done that a little bit.
And it's fun though.
I've done that with my kids a bit.
But there was an episode, not a very good one, pretty bad one actually, where the animals start disappearing from the cages because they're being abducted and then dropped in the wrong spot when they come back. Anyway, the person that's in charge of the animals is a woman, And she says at one point in the episode, she's like, yeah, this guy, I don't get along with him because, obviously I'm his boss and I'm a woman, so he doesn't like that. And that was it. If that scene came out today, that would have been that would have been her character. It would have been like overcoming all this, the misogyny and all the cat calls and the mean underhanded comments. But no, it was just it was a one-line thing, and Scully and Mulder both were just kind of like, yeah, that there's people like that, sure, and that was it. Like, oh, this is like natural dialogue that people have,
right?
How refreshing!
But even the basic premise of the show, or basic setup of the show, is intended to kind of reverse the basic gender roles, where Scully, which is actually the name of one of my dogs, that she is the scientist, she's the skeptic, she's the stable one, and then the man is the one that is like a little bit unstable, irrational, but not in the action hero kind of way.
No,
he's the loose can't like these sorts of like roles that normally the man is the man of logic, and nope, they reversed it, and it's the whole show is that
it is
reversing something. And it's never like pausing to stare at the camera and say it. They just wrote two great characters that have interesting dynamics with each other, cast them properly, and so they became legends, and they did something interesting and groundbreaking because you wrote good characters. Like, you can write all kinds of characters and do all sorts of different things.
And to your point, that's
interesting and good.
That's what frustrates the shit out of guys like you and I. I know it frustrates you when you see those comments come in from a director or an actor, and they're like, yeah, they just don't like women, or they don't want to see strong women doing strong things. Scully is like the best character in the X-Files. I like her more than Mulder rewatching this show. She's freaking great. No guy when X-Files came out was like, Scully sucks. I hate her. Get her off the show. No, everybody loved Scully. She was the perfect partnership with Mulder. It was awesome. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's just silly how they write some of this shit now, and then they act like a victim when we don't like the writing.
Right. And the frustrating part is because you have these kind of two nutty extremes.
Yep.
The people that are like screaming woke about everything, and then the people that are like, you only hate the Acolyte because you hate women and minorities. Like, what are you doing? You're making the people that are screaming everything is woke. You're giving them ammo. You're making their point for them. Like,
and what's more crazy?
You're making a cartoon out of this. Like,
what's more crazy is people live so online now that it's absolutely making a difference when a channel over on YouTube makes 18 videos on the same topic saying this show's woke. That writer is listening, and they're going to be like, well, okay, well, what do you think of this? I'm going to make this gay character, and they're going to have a whole like spiel about why toxic masculinity is terrible. And like, just to get back at that person. It's like, you guys are feeding off each other in the worst way possible. And then the rational ones here are losing out.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's Star Wars.
That's the internet. That's every show. Like this insane like dialogue of the crazies get to control it all.
They control it all now. It's wild. All right, super chats. Let's focus. We have one from super famous Sean Chandler, Tony from Hack the Movies. He's actually more famous than you and I combined, according to him. He was in The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you can see him if you squint in one moment during the football stadium.
Okay.
Destruction. Gotcha. He's back there in row, I don't know, 55 seat J.
If he can give me the seat assignment, I will find that on my next rewatch.
Yeah, I think you should. And then you'll be like, wow, I can't believe this guy just super chatted Adam. That's wild. Okay, $10. Why would anyone,
all of the money that he has from being a movie star?
You would think that he could give a little bit more than 10, right?
Yeah.
Why would anyone watch Star Wars when they can watch the 1978 Italian ripoff Star Crash, starring David Hasselhoff? Okay. Well,
so I started to go a little bit down the ripoffs path. after actually Rebel Moon came out, because a bunch of people messaged to me, Rebel Moon is just Battle Beyond the Stars.
Oh.
And I'd never seen Battle Beyond the Stars, so I went back and I watched Battle Beyond the Stars, and they're basically correct. That's what Rebel Moon is. It's Magnificent Seven in Star Wars.
Magnificent Seven,
long
I've heard,
time before Rebel Moon did it. It starts, and my first thought was, the music in this movie is way too good for this cheap Roger Corman Star Wars ripoff. And I'm watching the credits, and it comes up, James Horner, and it's like the first movie James Horner composed. James Horner's my second favorite composer of all time, behind
Alan Silvestri?
John Williams.
Oh, okay.
John Williams, Alan Silvestri would probably be. He's not as consistent, but Alan Silvestri would be like probably in the top 5.
He's done a lot of movies though, but yeah.
He's
a
lot.
Horner's
Like,
got
a lot of
them.
And so I heard it, I was like, there it is. This is where he started, and then a few years later he got Star Trek 2, and the rest is history. But I started Star Crash because David Hasselhoff was in it.
Mm-hmm.
It did not hold me enough.
You started. It was enough for me to hear that. It probably wasn't good enough.
Was the key
that
word.
was the key word. Yes. All right, we have Tony Morrow will massacre Hollywood. It's aggressive for $1.99. Thank you, Tony. Wow. Star Wars really died after Rise of Skywalker. It depends on who you ask, Tony. Some people think Star Wars died after Return of the Jedi. Some think it died after episode whatever had the pod racer, Phantom Menace. I don't think Star Wars ever really dies. I think that it always comes back in some shape or form, and that's why I think
it's just not for you anymore.
Yeah, I think it can win you back at some point. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. 15 years down the road, maybe Disney sells it off because they've burned it down so badly, and then some other company picks it up. Who knows?
Yeah, Zack Snyder buys it, and we get the Snyderverse, and then we combined DC, Star Wars, what we've always wanted to see.
Oh, yeah. Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon X Star Wars. Could you imagine? Wow, what a time to be alive.
With the DC characters, because he's going to bring it back on Netflix, and it's a zombie movie.
And the Ayer cut is going to be the canon version of Suicide Squad. That's also going to be part of it. Yeah. All right, Michael for $4.99. Thank you, Michael. Okay, we got a screw, marry, kill. I probably should have looked at this ahead of time. J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, or Jon Favreau, or Favreau Rex. Also, thoughts on their filmography outside Star Wars. FMK. I'm going to marry John. I think he's the most stable of the bunch. JJ always leaves me wanting more. So, I'm going to marry John for sure. I'm going to screw JJ because he's that kind of guy. He gets in, he gets out. He's not thinking about it again. We saw what happens when he finishes a property. Rian Johnson, I'm going to kill him because I don't like what he did to my Star Wars.
I'll agree with that. That sounds good to me. Jon Favreau, way back in 2001.
Iron Man 2, your favorite movie. Iron Man 2 by Jon Favreau.
Even before that.
Okay.
Fresh out of high school, and I discover that there's movies that come out that aren't just big explosion, alien invasion, or comedies.
Yeah,
there's films that play at this indie art house theater. And I went and I discovered 2 new directors that had their first movie come out. One of them, it's technically their second, but their first real movie to come out.
Sure.
That both of them would go on to revolutionize the comic book industry in 2008. Discover this guy named Christopher Nolan with his movie Memento.
Memento, yep.
And then at the same theater, this Jon Favreau put out a movie called Made. That was...
I never saw Made. Never saw it.
It's like a small little, post-90s Tarantino-inspired little underground crime comedy. Small scale. It's all about Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn bantering. So if your tolerance for, like, really insufferable Vince Vaughn is high, it's a fun time.
Well, I've seen Swingers, so, yeah, it's high.
It's that. It's literally
Swingers.
the spiritual follow-up to Swingers because Favreau wrote Swingers, and then he wrote and directed Made. And so so it's like you think Swingers, but with like a little bit of a Tarantino crime vibe to it.
Sure,
but it's a comedy, like simple, small stakes. It's all about the hangout. It's all about the banter. It's got Famke Jensen in there in a little bit of a part. And,
I like Famke.
Sean Puffy Combs, role model to my children.
I
He's
don't
in it
know.
for a little.
We might not be able to keep the stream up just for mentioning him now.
But all that to say, like, Jon Favreau is one of those guys that was like, I just like him and Nolan were some of these guys that maybe discover indie films, and then he does Elf, then he does Zathura, which I didn't see until 10 years after it came out. Then he's Iron Man.
He directed Zathura? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so random. Which was kind of like a unofficial sequel to Jumanji.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That movie was all right.
I included it in my Jumanji ranking. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. And it has Josh Hutcherson and Bella Swan from Twilight.
Everybody's favorite, Bella
but
Swan.
then he comes back and he does Chef, this small little chef
I
movie.
love Chef. I've seen that a couple times.
Right. Yeah. And so, like, Favreau, people remember him for, like, when he gets lost in the studio system.
Yeah, of course.
But he's done a lot of his other stuff that's great. Like, he has a really good set of films.
He does, and he's done a lot of good acting too. He's played funny characters too.
And he has his misses.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely, like very obvious misses. Yeah, absolutely has his Cowboys and Aliens.
Oh,
how do you take Cowboys and Aliens with James Bond and Indiana Jones and fumble? How do you? And he did.
Yeah,
but he went. What did I just
do?
I got to step away, and I'm going to go make Chef. And if you watch Chef in light of his career, like he's taking his career and interpreting it into the world of a chef, and like he gets lost in trying to play for the critics, give people what they want, and he has to go back to something smaller. And he has a food truck, or he makes a movie about a food truck. You go.
It's so funny. Chef is, I mean, it's very unconventional story structure. It doesn't have a fall in the middle act again. He's at a high, he drops low at the end of the first act, and then it's just clear sailing all the way to the finish line. I love that. It's so different than every freaking other rom-com where that middle act has that second drop, right? Where there's a big reveal of, oh, you didn't pay your mortgage, or oh, this person found out a big secret about you. No, it's
and then he gets a flat tire on the food truck in Austin, and he loses custody of his kid.
Right. None of that happens. It's like, this is so refreshing how it's told.
And when you think it's about to happen, and the food critic shows up,
yes,
and it's like, oh no, what's about to happen with the critic? And he's like, I love you, man.
Hey,
you're back. Hey, do you want $1 zillion? I retired. Right. I sold everything to fund you. Like, hey, wow,
it would be like if Ratatouille, if Remy never got found out under the hat, and they just kept making food and everything was great. Okay, yes, Jon Favreau, a lot of good. Sean said enough about it. Ryan Johnston.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were supposed to go through all their filmographies.
Well, no. He just said. Yeah. Ryan, I don't know a lot of his filmography. Obviously, I really like Knives Out. He's still a relatively newish director, from what I understand.
I mean, he's been around for 20 years.
Has he? I don't know. Shit, I guess I don't really know a lot of his movies then.
So he did Brick with
I didn't see Brick.
Levitt, small film.
Yeah.
And he did some other one that I forget what it was. And then he did Looper.
So Looper, that's right. Yeah, Looper's so freaking overrated. I'm sorry. I don't care for that movie.
Well, there's that one cool scene where there's a guy being tortured in the past or whatever, and he's like running down the road and his legs disappear, and you go, what if the whole movie was like this? That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would have been better.
But it wasn't.
No.
But yeah, so we went to go see that right after our Liam was born.
Mm-hmm.
That was like not the right movie to take.
No.
No. He's running around killing kids.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah.
And J.J. Abrams has a lot of good stuff. He's really good at that first movie for sure. I think Super 8 is actually pretty underrated. Yeah. It's kind of like old school Spielberg.
And that's what's so disappointing is that it's like he's gotten lost in franchises.
Yes.
So revitalizing Mission Impossible,
Star Wars, Star Trek.
Yeah. And then he has this one movie that it's an original. It's an overt Amblin homage. And it's like Stranger Things 5 years earlier.
Yeah, it was a cool flick. And he obviously, he did the first pilot for Lost, which was also fantastically shot. It's one of the best pilots ever. Yes, Alias. So yeah, JJ's a great director. He's just been shoved down the Disney ass. All right, thank you, Michael. Hulk for $5. Shot out of a cannon. 500 pennies. Love you guys. Aquafina to save Star Wars.
I hadn't thought of that, but now that you mention it, that's my answer. Who should run Lucasfilm? Who's that storyteller for that trilogy? Aquafina.
All right. We're gonna make a Star Wars trilogy. You guys ready? Ugh, Aquafina. She's the Gilbert Gottfried of no, that's insulting to Gilbert. Pour one out for Gilbert. He was great. It's like they took the Iago character though that worked really well that one time, and they made that character in every single animated film voiced by Aquafina now. It's brutal. Michael Tom Syke for $1.99. He's got an indie icon. I like it. Favorite droid in Star Wars? I gotta go with R2D2. He's always been my boy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go the same. I mean, R2's he's a classic, standard.
He's the unsung hero, really. I mean,
yeah, right, exactly. Unsung hero, low key. He's there in the background, and he's getting stuff done.
Yeah. I didn't mind BB-8, but let's be honest, it's just an R2D2 unit as a ball. It's the same character. He's spunky.
I have the BB-8 remote control, but and someone said when I bought him, when they saw that I had it, when they went, someday they're gonna discontinue. They're gonna stop updating the software.
Oh,
I was like, yeah, but then it'll be a nice piece on my mantle. And they were correct. They discontinued it, so you can't control it with your phone. Now the developers did put something out, so you still kind of can.
Sure.
But they sold a remote control without a remote control that you have to use your phone, and they stopped updating it. Classic.
Because I know every night since you bought that thing, you've been taking it out for drives. You walk it down the road with you on the sidewalk. Come on, buddy. Come on, just taking my BB-8 out for a walk.
Yep.
That's too bad.
Love it.
Michael's back. $4.99. Cartoon Network and Disney Channel show has more respectable lore than current Star Wars. Sorry, there was a period. It kind of threw off my sentence reading. Some of them have bad endings due to cancellations. Well, these are true stories. I'm actually almost done with the Disney show right now. We're on season 2 of... I always forget the name of this damn show. What's the X-Files show for kids set at a campsite? Grunkle Stan.
The
Galaxy Falls? Something Falls? Is it Galaxy Falls?
No, it's not Galaxy.
Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls.
Yeah, Gravity Falls. Yeah.
Gravity Falls, so far really enjoying that show. My son said he teared up at the end of the second season, so I don't know what the heck's going to happen, but
we let our kids watch the first season. They were obsessed with it, and they dressed up as Dipper and everything for Halloween.
Yeah.
And then the second season was like witches and stuff. We're like, let's wait a little. This is getting a little dark to all have all the together. So they probably could rewatch it now.
The first couple episodes of season 2 kind of misses for me, but then it finds its groove, I think, again, and it's getting good now. Gravity Falls, solid. Daniel Skinner for $10. It's a powerful super chat. Thank you, Daniel. Going to a conversation I've had with Sean. We both agree that we find it odd how Disney doesn't seem to bring in visionary storytellers for their original content, except for Andor and Percy Jackson. I didn't watch Percy Jackson. It didn't look very good, and I was already burned by those movies once. I read the books. I like the books.
Careful. Don't. Mr. Skinner.
Okay.
Passionate Percy Jackson fan.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it didn't win me over from the trailer. But you said
it didn't look very good, so...
It didn't win me over from the trailer. Trailers have been wrong before, though.
Yeah.
Rebel Moon is an example of that.
I mean, some of that is that they're... like, they've hired some people that are kind of visionaries or have something to offer, and then they just squeeze the creativity out. Just mash them into the machine.
Yes. We need to write a woman character that can belittle the man in every scene she's in. Can we get that in here somehow? Well, season 2. We'll make it season 2. Hey, for the Mandalorian season 3, let's just have him as a background character, and we're gonna give the entire season to a new character altogether. People will love that. God, that show. Tony Movie Chappie D9 Neil Blomkamp fan. Oh my God, $4.99.
So he was at MegaCon the 2 years before. So Cody and I met him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I talked to him in the 2 previous years. I don't think he came this year, so I don't think you got to meet him.
I do not like Chappie at all. I think it's pretty crappy, but I freaking love District 9. Love District 9. And it makes me sad that...
I hadn't seen any of Blomkamp's movies when I met him, and obviously he's a fan.
Sure.
So I couldn't talk about the most important thing. And then by the time at MegaCon I'd watched all of them for this last year, I could have talked with him about, like, you watched District 9?
Yep.
13 years late. Everyone else watched it in 2009. I was like,
did you like it?
Yeah. I watched it with my wife. In the first 45 minutes, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the most brutal movie I've ever watched.
I felt sick watching it.
Yeah, like you're watching, like, what is going on here? And then it starts getting going, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what is this thing? And you hear that he was almost going to do RoboCop, and he almost was going to do Aliens.
Aliens.
Like, you're like, yes.
He would have killed an Aliens movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's done anything of substance since that. Chappie did not work at all for me. I didn't care for Elysium. I didn't hate Elysium, but it's not great. And then I think he did one more, and I might not have seen it, but I'm not.
He did 2 more. So he did. He did this like movie called Demonic, like 2 years ago. Super low budget.
Okay.
Like, weird how bad it is. Like, and it was like a possession movie involving VR or something like that. Like,
weird.
Very strange. There's and then he did Gran Turismo last year, the car movie.
He did that?
Yeah.
What? What a weird movie for him to direct. That does not seem like his style at all. That was a great movie.
Right. So I think that was the thing of, like, okay, man, you did this groundbreaking original thing, and then there's been diminishing returns. Like, you got to win some trust back. So like, can you work in the system? Yeah. So then he puts out like a tried and true car movie that's just a little bit different because it's based on like this VR or the
PlayStation game, Underdog.
It's not a game. Simulator, racing simulator,
racing sim,
and so it's interesting. It's like a tried and true, like, good old fashioned underdog movie, and he did it. So maybe this means now they'll trust him with something again, and he's not.
I did not know that he directed that. I should have been paying attention when I looked at the IMDb page. Okay.
That's why you got to rank franchises and directors and stuff. So then you're just obsessed with, like, what director has a thing coming out so he can, like, do his thing and I'll watch all of his movies finally.
Yeah.
Because that's how I talk when I'm not on camera.
Some of us, Sean, have a real job where we do real work. Okay. Sorry to put you out. And I love it. I love my real job. No. But it pays the bills, sadly. Oh, MegaCon, are we doing MegaCon? Is that happening? Do we need to talk off camera? Am I out? Am I in?
I mean, as Chuck told us at the end of MegaCon, by the way, I quit. It's my last.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that's why I didn't know if you had another contact there, or if that's just game over.
So I don't know.
Okay.
So Chuck is now my contact for GalaxyCon.
Oh, okay.
So I've been texting with Chuck about GalaxyCon, and they were at VidCon this last week, and they were talking about me and bringing my show on the road with GalaxyCon, and he think GalaxyCon's better at everything than his former employer.
Sure.
But so he was talking about doing something in a couple months, but it was just too soon for what they're looking. But he's like, we're going to kick it off with this whole YouTuber path in next year.
Okay.
So GalaxyCon. Their whole set of deals, but I don't know. I don't know if anyone's taken over with the MegaCon stuff.
Interesting.
So we could meet Tony Movie Chappie if he came out again.
We'll meet him. Okay. Well, you know my number, Sean. If something comes up, let me know. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Tony Movie's back for $9.99. How is it that?
Did we read the question on the last one? We just got fixated.
Okay.
This
So
whole Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah. He got like bonus stuff here. Okay. Hey, sorry, Tony. Thank you, Sean, for saving that. Mark my words, we will get a documentary title: "The People versus Kathleen Kennedy," the sequel to "The People versus George Lucas." It will happen. I would not be surprised.
I so desperately want to know what on earth is going on. Like, what is this? How did she recruit so many people and lose them? What is this nightmare?
I feel like you could expand this to "The People versus Disney" after all the terrible decisions they made the last few years and how they've kind of undervalued all their properties, lost a lot of consumer faith.
Yep.
There's a lot of stories that could be told there, I think.
Yep.
And we'll get it, but it's going to take probably another 5-10 years after they clean house or do whatever they need to do over there. Okay, he's back. Tony, for $9.99. How is it that Star Wars is the most mismanaging IP, even more than the DCU? But even if you get rid of Kathleen Kennedy of Lucasfilm, the damage is done, and it's going to be hard to regain that back. That was one sentence, and I liked it. Do you have something that you want to lock and load?
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between DCU and Star Wars is one continuity.
Sure.
It's you did do the extended universe, but to the mainstream, it's been this one deal, and it started in movies, whereas DC obviously goes back to comic books 85 years ago. And so, like, for that reason, inherently, it's easy to reboot it, tell different stories, pocket universes and everything, and shared universes. That's the new thing in film.
Yeah.
And with Star Wars, it's the one. And so it's not as easy. You can't just be like, well, let's start over with a new Luke Skywalker. Let's just reboot it. It's not. Luke Skywalker isn't Batman. He's always been Mark Hamill.
Right.
And it's tough. Like that, even to like our whole conversation we were having of like, what should they do? It's like, yeah, I mean, I think you got to get Kathleen out of there. I think you got to pause, let people get the stink out and start over. But what do you even start over with? Do you just tell a story down the road? Do you build off of this whole different thing in the Old Republic? Like, you kind of have to do something like that. But it's entirely rebuilding trust and trying to figure out how do you even do that with this very polarized audience where they're like, Disney's the devil. No, what are you talking about? The Acolyte has no problems. There's just racists and sexists. That's
right.
There's no legitimate criticisms, just isms and bigotry.
Well, and because it's so married to the consumerism, it would be hard to even start from scratch because you have the theme parks and all the merch and the Legos and everything to just completely start a new Star Wars story with brand new characters. That's a big investment, and it's a costly one, and it's a dangerous game to play when you have the tried and true favorites. Even if they've lost 10% of their fan base or whatever it might be, they could potentially lose a lot larger section of the pie if they started from scratch. I do think it's funny that there's the idea of start in the future, go like 1,000 years in the future, and it's almost like what they keep doing every time there's a new trilogy. Okay, well, we went the prequel route, which was hundreds of years before the OG. And then we did the sequel route, which was 30 or so years before, whatever. I'm making up numbers. But you go into the future again.
You're going to get a bunch of Star Wars fans coming after you.
I'm very concerned. You go into the future and they're like, okay, we're going to pretend to do our own thing. And then they just kind of fall back into the same shit they always do. Well, now let's do a bridge movie of what happened in between, and then let's bring this character into this film, and then next thing you know, you have another Frankenstein of continuity issues. That's why I say just clean house and start with something wildly different. But they won't. Sean answered your question. I'm just rambling. Okay, Troy the Cream McClure for $5. Thank you, Troy. Tired of the ruined my childhood BS. If you don't like the new stuff, it can't ruin the memories and experience you had. Nice to see Uncle Sean, by the way. Well, I mean, I think Sean was kind of joking when he said ruin my childhood. That is the thing people go to. Childhood's been over for a long time for me, and I never had the same we're just passionate movie lovers. I don't think Sean, I can't speak, to you directly. You can speak for yourself, but I'm not kept up at night thinking about what Kathleen Kennedy's doing over at Disney with Star Wars. I'm not thinking, oh God, I hope they don't make another Goonies movie 40 years later and ruin my childhood. Yes, I have that original movie. It's more of like, it's really stupid and I'm annoyed by it. And I know that there's more great stories and talent to be utilized elsewhere than to once again dusting off Indiana Bones for an 85-year-old ride on a horse. It's the annoyance that they can do better, but they won't.
Yeah, when I think the ones that ruined my childhood, I mean, they're just movies like Aliens is one of my favorite movies of all time. Alien 3 undoes the victory of one of my favorite movies, so it's my least favorite movie of all time. But Aliens is still one of my favorite movies. But it is that frustration, I think, of like we're gonna have Indiana Jones come back, and his son is dead, and he's divorced, and he's a drunk. And he's this old man that's alone, and then he meets someone that reminds him of his past that he helped raise, and then she scams him because he's an old man that can fall for scams.
He's out of shape, yelling at the neighbor kids to keep down the racket.
What are we doing? What are we doing with Indiana Jones? It's that stuff that I think is so frustrating. Of like, there's characters that works. Logan, that works. He's a character that always had a dark history. That always, like, he's lived too long. He's outlived everyone he's ever known. And so you give him this kind of final broken story to close it out.
That's and he was always a broken character.
Yeah. But like, you don't have to like take characters that aren't broken and break them because they're old. And like, that's the thing that they keep repeating the same thing. And I posted my short of me crying about what are all broken heroes because I was eating hot sauce and I didn't mention that in the video. So it just looks like me as this, and it plays into a narrative of what's all these 40-year-old men crying on Star Wars.
Awesome.
And so then the short got 500,000 views on Instagram. And so I only have less than 20,000 subscribers. So 480,000 people on Instagram were like, who's this moron crying about Star Wars? But like at the core of it, it was like, not every character needs to have the same arc. And they're like, you are opposed to character development. You're opposed to seeing old men. I was like, no, I don't want the same arc repeated. Not everyone is cynical when they're old. Not everyone is a drunk and divorced when they're old.
Well, and also it's such a shock to see a character that the last time you saw him was in a pretty good state. And then you fast forward 20, 30 years, they look older, they're weathered, and they are completely different than the guy you remember.
Yeah.
That's just not fun when you don't have a backstory. That would be like, I've made this joke several times, but it'd be like having a Harry Potter 10 years down the road and Daniel Radcliffe's got the lightning bolt, but now it's like scarred down his eye. And he's got the really long shaggy hair and he's living in a fucking cave and he wants he's like, I want an end to the wizarding world, burn it all down. It's like, is that really what you want to see? You want to see this bitter, hopeless Harry Potter? No, it's ridiculous. But if you made a series of stories of movies that maybe moved his character in that direction,
built you to it.
Yeah, then that's fine. You can make captivating storylines with characters you remember one way.
Voldemort was right from a certain point of view. You just have to understand that one group of wizards felt that they could control how you use the wizard magic, and it's just their way. And so Voldemort had to go into hiding because of the oppression.
And then you have like who could we have? Hermione's great granddaughter holds out the wizard wand to Harry, and Harry just throws it over his shoulder. Get the hell out of here!
And then he goes and milks the griffin.
It's Buckbeak. Oh my god, that's good. Yeah, that's it's time for the wizarding world to come to an end. Kyle Nelson for $5. Thank you, Kyle. Hack the Movies reviews are too long. Also, what's your favorite Ewoks movie? Battle for Endor or Caravan of Courage?
Yeah, Battle for Endor.
Gotta go with Battle.
It's an action movie.
Yeah, gotta go with Battle.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was stupid. You could probably tell that now. I thought that Noah, whose name is stated as Noah, I thought that maybe that was an old Han Solo, and that was we're on the Millennium Falcon. Like, yeah, Wilford Brimley. That definitely that gives me definite Harrison Ford vibes. Because he had a ship. That was it. Like, that was like, it's a man and it's a ship. It has to be Han Solo.
It's Han Solo, yeah. Because when you're a kid, you're dumb as crap. And I mean, you were watching this trash. I watched it once and walked away, and then rewatched Three Ninjas for the 15th time.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I was more a highbrow martial arts, Sean.
Yeah, so I saw Three Ninjas back in the day. Never saw the sequel with Hulk Hogan, but
High Noon at Mega Mountain. That was the 4th film in the franchise.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
You haven't ranked these yet?
I've only seen the first one.
Oh come on! I'm surprised Disney hasn't brought it back. Bring back the Three Ninjas, like they did with Cobra Kai.
There's a lot of complexities of having the ninjas being white in a Disney project.
Well, maybe do a little race swap in here and there. No one would know. Maybe a gender swap.
There you go.
No one's any the wiser. Tony Chappie D9. I'm not reading that whole name. 199. Thank you, Tony. Hot take. I like Cowboy. Okay, we're gonna move on from that one.
Maybe
I like Cowboy and Aliens. It was decent.
Maybe he's just saying that he likes cowboys and he likes aliens, because I do too. Like,
I think he
I
just
saw
liked
Horizon. Let's see, it's 3 hours long. I saw it 8 times on Saturday. I showed up at midnight and just marathoned it.
We're just sitting here until part 2 comes out. Just gonna keep watching the first part. I think he just liked Olivia Wilde going naked that one point when she comes back from the UFO.
It's true.
That was it. I like that part. That was it. Mr. Flickster for $5. Thank you, Mr. Flickster. So Leia asked Obi-Wan for help because he's her only hope. After he died, she called R2-D2 her only hope. Is Star Wars: A New Hope named after R2-D2? Yeah, I think it is. I think R2-D2 is the hero. I think he always has been. I think people know it, but there's a bias against androids.
Yep.
Hulk for $5. Thank you, Hulk. What a smashing amount of money to give. Would love Disney to get their shit together in general with all their properties and theme parks. They have all the potential to do amazing things. The Disney theme parks are terrible. And this is from a guy who loved Disney World not that long ago. But man, is it embarrassing how bad those theme parks are now.
I've never gone with my family, and that's like a thing of like we're right at the window now where it would make sense for us to go.
Universal, just go to Universal again. Yeah.
Well, so I took Liam to Universal for is like a growing up rite of passage, just the two of us. But like a full family, like at some point you got to do Disney. But every story I've heard is just insane about how bad it is, how expensive it is.
Yeah.
And our window where Karis isn't too young and Liam isn't too old, it's like right now. It's like this next year. And I've only heard horror stories.
The only place I would even recommend, the only place we are going to go anymore is Epcot because it's their largest park. There's room to walk, and I don't know. It's fun not even going on the rides there. There's like a lot of food and a lot of just cool things to look at. But Epcot's sweet.
That's good that they have food. My family eats.
Yeah, they have a lot of food. It's wild, and that's about it. I used to like the other parks, but they don't keep up with them. The rides are all old as crap. The lines are ridiculous. Yeah. Michael Tomsick for $199. What would make the Star Wars IP hit rock bottom? I think we're there. I don't know what you mean by rock bottom. I just like not making money. Is that rock bottom, or is it just the quality? Because I think the quality is kind of there already. I mean, when I saw that Mary-Kate and Ashley level production of Obi-Wan Kenobi where Leia was running away from one of the Red Hot Chili Peppers and he couldn't get past some bramble, I was like, I think I'm done. This is so bad. It's like embarrassing.
Did you make it through all of Kenobi?
I don't think I did. No.
There's a part where they have to like sneak through a hangar on the Imperial ship, and he puts on a trench coat.
I saw that. Yes,
he hides in the trench coat, and they're like, "What?"
I did see that. Maybe I did finish it. It's all. I might have blacked out.
And you're watching it like, how could this possibly be?
It's like when it's like when the Ninja Turtles put on their trench coats and hats, like that's fooling anybody. But that's a cartoon, and it's about Ninja Turtles, so you're willing to give it a little bit of leeway. God, yeah, I think I did finish, because didn't that end with him looking at dumbass like little kid Luke on top of the Tatooine home, flying around, and Obi-Wan's watching through binoculars.
So it ends with him hanging out with Qui-Gon.
Ghost Qui-Gon walks out of
Qui-Gon goes, hey, you figured it out finally.
Hey, old so-and-so, what are you up to? He's like, I have a particular set of skills that I've acquired over many years of Jedi practice. So Michael, I don't think I have a huge answer to that. Sean, do you have anything to add?
I just don't know. Well, I mean, I think we might be about to have it with, you put out a Mando and Grogu movie and it's just kind of dead on arrival. You put out back-to-back Star Wars movies and do this Rey movie. Neither one of them hits $1 billion.
You don't think the Mando Grogu movie is going to do well in the box office?
I just like, because the excitement, like,
when's it come out? Do you know? Does it have a release date?
2 years or something like that.
Oh, it's a ways out. Okay.
Yeah. Like maybe they're shooting it right now, but it doesn't come out next year. It has a release date.
And I don't think Rise of Skywalker didn't do near as well as the previous two, right?
Right.
I don't think that did that well. Yeah, but Grogu, kids love Grogu. I think people will see that movie. I think that one's going to do pretty well from a financial standpoint.
2026.
Okay.
So it's 2 years away.
I think that one's going to actually do fine, but quality-wise, I don't know. I think it's going to make a lot of money. It still depresses me with every inch of my being that one of the highest-rated movies one of the highest box office earners is The Lion King live-action remake. Yeah. It's still in like the top 10.
Yeah.
And now we have Mufasa coming out.
Not a single person is rewatched since.
No, it's perplexing. Like, you want to talk about nostalgia being a hell of a drug? Everybody went to that movie because they love the original so much. Mm-hmm. Troy the Cream McClure for $2 wasn't speaking on y'all, just the overall phrase. That's fair.
Well, I took it deeply personal. Like I actually had a notebook, and I wrote your name down.
It's actually funny that he showed up again, because I did block him from the channel, so it's weird that he came up again.
I was going to track him down, but now that it wasn't about me.
Yeah, I've unblocked him since this conversation.
We're cool.
So. Thank you, Troy. Appreciate it. Kyle Nelson for $2. Star Wars XXX ruined my childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, that was didn't ruin my childhood, but I think it scarred my children, because we were just sitting down to do the Star Wars rewatch when Rise of Skywalker came out, and so then we put on Star Wars 30, and I was confused because I didn't remember it coming out, and then I had a lot of really interesting conversations I had to have with my children afterwards that were probably a little bit premature. Yeah. But I thought it was better than Last Jedi.
It's tastefully done, tastefully executed. The Red Room went a little different, that one. Tony Movie Chappie D9. Thank you, Tony. Do you think that Disney should the sentence structure? Do you think that Disney should sell the rights? Okay, sell the rights to Star Wars to another studio. Well, the only other studios that will be able to buy Star Wars are other massive studios, and really, I don't even know who could. Amazon, they're doing a hell of a job with Lord of the Rings right now. Sarcasm. HBO Max, they're like in the process of merging with someone else, and then I heard Paramount is being acquired, and
everyone's a mess, and everyone seems like they're all trying to merge together. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know who could do it. I don't know who would do a better job with it.
Warner Brothers is like hemorrhaging money.
Yeah, like because it's bizarre. Of like, and it's not that there's like HBO as a television company.
Yeah,
generally speaking, is still really
Right.
good. Amazon, when they're doing their throwback action things, they know how to deliver what that audience wants. So like Jack Reacher and some of these ones, like those deliver what to an audience, but it's not. When they did something else, Lord of the Rings, it was like, what are you doing with Lord of the Rings? What is it? So I don't know who you give it to. And
Elon Musk is going to acquire it and then just make it AI.
It independent, or
it's going to be AI Star Wars movies.
But you almost wonder, like, is it like they just need to be independent again and not, because George Lucas owned it and then he sold it. So could someone else buy it and be like, oh, who do I want?
I think James Cameron's the only guy that could buy it, and then he would just take 18 years to come out with one movie.
James Cameron at 96, he puts out like the Star Wars movie we've all been waiting for our entire lives, and we're like, James, you really are the king of sequels. Why couldn't you have bought Star Wars after Titanic? When you got your Titanic money, like, George, I'll take it from here.
Then he sells it to Disney right before he dies.
Yeah.
Or A24. A24 takes over Star Wars.
A24.
And things get real weird real fast. All right. Operation Spider for $2. Stop turning characters gay and lame. Simple. Yes, the South Park joke where Kathleen Kennedy turns every character lame and gay. It's pretty funny. Tony for $9.99. It looks like the last one of the night, unless I missed any. Someone that loved watching feminist movies, but here's the thing. They are written well, and they great written female characters than any of the Star. Okay, it's a little bit of a mess, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think it's just in general, movies lately seem way more ham-fisted in the writing department, where they think that the identity of the character needs to be how they sexually identify or what who they're sleeping with. It's never just a characteristic of a person, which is
their personality is I'm gay. Their personality is I'm trans.
Correct.
Personality is I'm a strong female. It's not a great character that can come from any place in humanity. You can have
it just so happens to be a woman or a man or whatever. Right. Yeah. It's boring and dull.
And it's they don't know. Too rarely they don't even know how to, like, in a movie where it fits to have a message. Like, you have a movie that actually is tackling these issues, and instead it's so many of these ones. It's just this kind of like stare at the camera and state your message. And it's tell instead of show.
Right.
And it's all of that. That's what it makes everyone mad. Like, there's so many movies that explore ideas or things that might not even be something I agree with, but it's like, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
That does a really good job of exploring ideas. And the whole point of, if you tell it through story, is I might not fully agree with you, where you're going with this or your view on these things, but you made me think about it from a different perspective.
Right.
And they've just kind of entirely lost all of that, and it's just all on the nose. And and I think the fact that so much of it just feels so performative, it feels phony, it feels like they're just checking boxes, and there's all these other examples of where studios, networks, or whatever, TV shows just write good characters.
Yeah.
Of all
well, and again, that goes back to the conveyor belt thing. The checking boxes is all too real because they look for funding, and there's a box that's like, hey, do you have any gay representation? Check box. You get a check from a represented company that will fund your film based on what representation you have. This is movie making now. You look for funding and any outlet you can get. And if there's an easy way to get $500,000 so you can shoot this scene just for having a lesbian kiss or just calling it out, they're going to put it in the movie and you're not going to think twice about it. But it's just annoying for moviegoers because we can see what they're doing. It's artificial and it brings nothing to the movie itself. Okay. Sean, any last words on Star
Zelda
Wars.
fan 198 asks, what video games do you play when you have free time? I don't have free time, so the only video games I play are those that I play with my kids, which would be Fortnite,
yeah.
Mario Kart, and Helldivers 2, because I believe in democracy.
That's right. Helldivers, yeah, you do. I'm big into Fortnite this season. I've gone all in, Sean. I'm not only playing the Fortnite with the battle pass.
Magneto.
He's not out yet. He's not out yet.
I think he just came out, or the latest
Oh,
update. So
okay.
my son got 12 kills with 100% accuracy.
Oh my gosh.
Earlier today.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's a Magneto gloves where you can make a shield and you can shoot things at people and you can float a little bit. And I think he was as Magneto too with his buddy.
Oh,
so
that's
they were
sweet.
like, because I'm a good parent, we use television as Fortnite as the babysitter today. So he just sat there all day getting you stacking crowns and whatever that song is. All I do is win. Like, he was just blasting that one all day long.
I haven't played since I played early this morning. My routine is I get to play about an hour for myself early in the morning before everyone's up, and then I usually will play like Lego Fortnite with my son Connor because he was big into Minecraft, but now we've kind of moved over to this, and I'm digging Lego Fortnite. It's kind of good. And I do sometimes I'll do the Fortnite rock band thing with my daughter because she's a huge music lover. And so the Metallica stuff, I'm a huge Metallica fan. So that's been great. We got one final super chat slipped in at the end here. Again from Tony. Tony, you've been the unsung hero today. Well, really the sung hero because I just sang about you. I love both Elysium and Chappie, but I totally respect your opinion, Adam. District 9 is my favorite movie of all time. And the film that made me who I am as a film lover. Hell yes. I remember it came out around the same time as Star Trek. I believe the J.J. Abrams reboot one. They were maybe the same year even, but I remember saying how I really liked District 9 a lot. And it became this ongoing joke with my brother, who every time I saw him was like, Adam, I saw Star Trek. Good, but obviously it's no District 9. Everything just became, it's no District 9, right, Adam? I maybe mentioned it one time that I thought it was great, and it just became this obnoxious thing that he would do. Well, it's no District 9.
Well, Adam, that's your personality, is that you're obsessed with District 9.
I am.
We shared a hotel room at MegaCon. We had great chemistry there. Except he kept talking about District 9 the whole time. Brushing his teeth. This reminds me of District 9.
Sean, are we going to have a District 9 panel at MegaCon this year? Because I didn't see it. One more at the end. Operation Spider for $5. One should call out the overrepresentation of lesbians versus gay men. It's like they want to promote relationships with no men versus no women. No, I think it's just hacky-ass writing. And again, funding. They need that funding. And you get it. You get it for showing the LGBTQ stuff. I've talked to a few actors, and they say that that's what's going on. At the end of the day, it's checking boxes, getting that cash. Yes, there are probably a lot of liberal arts people that think that on-the-nose messaging is really winning them favors in the industry with their peers. But I don't know. Everything kind of follows a trend, and I feel like this trend is already starting to kind of slip away. And I think in the next couple of years, this whole woke nonsense that people yell out all the time is going to be a thing of the past, and they'll find some new thing to yell out, a new word.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree. It's just eye rolling. I don't really care. Yeah. But it's eye rolling. All right, Sean. Thank you. What do you got coming up? Where can they find you? Where can the people find you that don't know?
If you look up Sean Chandler on the YouTubes.
Do that right
you'll
now.
Either find a professional football player or a guy that looks like me that talks about movies. It's the guy that looks like me that talks about movies. If you're in Bakersfield, I will be on Bakersfield Now at 6:50 a.m. tomorrow, as well as an hour and a half later. I've got 2 segments for all of you Bakersfield people out there. That's what I got.
Beautiful. Kept you up late. You should have bailed earlier. You should have yelled at me and said, "Hey, Adam, I'm getting up soon."
Be on the news, bags under my eyes.
It was on some stupid shit. It doesn't matter. What are we talking about today? The Acolyte? Yeah. No, we're not talking about that. All right, Sean. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Always great talking to you. I feel like it's been a long time, so it was much needed. We'll say that. Thank everyone for watching, and we are out of here. We end the stream awkwardly while it's